Hey, Sarah, we are live. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sean. Good evening, Reston. Welcome to our July regular board meeting. Without delay, I'm going to jump into the big announcement we have tonight. And I have my notes here written up so I don't go off script. On behalf of the RA board and staff, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Michael A. Cummins, aka Mac, AICP, as the association's new Chief Executive Officer. We are very pleased to have Mac join our community and lead the association. His extensive expertise in planning and community development will provide the association with the innovative thinking and collaborative leadership needed to move us forward in our efforts to actively advocate for issues that are most important to our members, including recreational and sports activities, environmental sustainability, and land use. Mac brings a wealth of professional experience spanning more than 20 years of municipal government service, including most recently as the Director of Community Development Department of the City of Bellevue, Washington, where he was responsible for a $79 million operating and capital budget and manage economic development, planning, affordable housing, arts and culture, and citizen or neighborhood outreach services. All that's relevant to us at RA. Prior to working for the City of Bellevue for more than 5 years, he served as a planning manager for the City of Westminster, Colorado. As the principal planner in Scottsdale, Arizona, Mac earned master's degrees from the University of Southern California in public administration, city and urban, community and regional planning. He also obtained a Bachelor of Science in Public Policy and Management with honors, all from USC. So obviously we're going to see a lot of USC in our future. Many thanks to our board members, both past and present, who stepped up when asked, and many without even being asked. Our new board worked expeditiously on this. In just under 3 months, we went from resumes, interviews, to a signed contract. I'm also deeply appreciative of the hard work of our staff during this transition period. Our acting CEO, mostly double duty. Please continue to grant our staff flexibility and patience with any requests over the next several weeks. Mac will officially join us as our CEO on August 22nd. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Mac to say a few words before we get into our board business tonight. Welcome, Mac.
Hey, thank you. Boy, it's really good to see everybody here tonight, and I'm not sure I can see completely how many residents are on the call right now, but I just want to start with telling everyone how excited I am to have the opportunity to be out there in this role, in this position, both at a personal and a professional thought here. I really am excited about being a resident in Reston. We have just recently gone into escrow to purchase a home up by the North Point shopping center. And my wife and I will be moving out there in the next couple of weeks with our daughter, who's in high school. And so she'll be attending Herndon High School, and very interested in band and a number of other extracurricular things that are happening out there. So I thought I might, just by way of introduction, and I'm blushing a little bit by some of the comments that were just read to you all there about the bio. I wanted to tell everybody kind of why Reston and why this position. And I followed Reston for years. Certainly all of the master planning and the work that Bob Simon started with the vision, of using the land responsibly and having interconnected facilities where people could community build and be active and stroll and see all the things that have now come to fruition. Having studied city planning for years and been a city planner and or planning director for different cities now for the last 20 some odd years, Reston's been on my radar screen for some time. So when this opportunity popped up and I had a chance to meet the board and spend some time asking a lot of questions through the headhunter process, I came to really feel like this would be a good fit for myself, and for the family. So I've done a lot of the things that Sarah was just mentioning to everybody. And I'm really, really excited to get to know the staff and be on a listening tour and be out in the community and talking to all of our members about what their experience has been with the organization and just in the community in general. So I am a little bit of a type A person. So if you see me on the trails, please stop me and introduce yourself, and I will certainly do the same. So the next month's going to be a little bit of a whirlwind for us. I've got one kid starting college and one trying to get into high school and moving cross country. But nonetheless, I'm hitting the ground live about 17th or 18th, and my first day in the office will be the 22nd. So couldn't be more excited to be working with everybody. Can't wait to get in with the board individually and collectively and talk about what the future holds for all of us out there. So I'll go ahead and stop there. I know you've got a busy agenda tonight, but please, no one be shy. I can't wait to start all the dialogues with you all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I saw North Point director celebrating when she heard where you're moving into. Directors, anyone want to make any comments? If not, we can jump into the agenda. Mac has a packed day tomorrow where he will be meeting a lot of our local press. So any thoughts, comments? If not, we can move into the agenda.
Mac, we're really excited to have you here, and we look forward very much to working with you and having you become part of a community. And I'm going to invite you to a couple of South Lakes football games.
But Herndon Hornets are good too. So I'm glad to have you come into North Point.
That is, unless they play South Lakes.
There you go.
Oh.
Independent of whichever.
That's like USC and UCLA. So Mac will understand.
He is very excited. I had the pleasure of meeting his wife, and they're both committed to Reston, so we're thrilled to have them. Thank you, Mac.
Thank you.
And please feel free to stay or log off. You have a lot of board meetings in your future, so we won't take it badly if you don't stay all night. That said, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a second. Perfect. Any comments? If not, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Jennifer, was that an aye? I guess that's unanimous. Okay.
Yes,
Motion to
sorry,
approve.
I.
No worries. Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'd like to remove something from the consent calendar, please.
I need a motion in a second, and then we can,
Okay, thank you.
or actually you can
I thought this was the
Go
part we
ahead.
could just object to, sorry.
go ahead. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
What
I'd
did
like
you-
to remove consent calendar item number 6, revisions to committee resolution number 4. And at the pleasure of the president, add it to any place you see fit on the agenda this evening.
Are we okay with putting it as item L? Others? Sort of the last item after capital projects?
Certainly.
So that will be new item L, will be our committee's resolution 4. Are we good? Any other changes? Nope.
Nope.
Can I get a motion to approve as amended?
I move that we approve the agenda, the consent order as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. Moving on to member comments. Christina, do we have anyone who's signed up?
No signups, but if anybody would like to comment, please raise your hand.
Please, if you would like to comment, raise your hand. If you're not comfortable sharing your address in public with us, please share your address with Christina on chat. You get 3 minutes as an individual and 5 minutes if you represent an association or a group. Any hands raised? Bob?
Bob Petrine, 2503 Foxcroft Way. We received just horrible news today that one of our esteemed colleagues, Christina Easterly, is leaving Reston Association. And I wanted to thank her for, in a very public way, for all of the time and effort and patience that she's had with us as long as she's been with RA. She's been an extraordinary addition to the staff, and really will miss her.
Absolutely. We all second that. We feel the same. I know my immediate response with Larry's email was, Oh, she's got a better position, better pay, all of that we would change, but the night meetings we can't change to keep her. Christina, we will miss you. Yes, Larry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to thank Christina publicly as well for, coming in the middle of the pandemic, picking things up, learning it very quickly and doing it very efficiently and diligently. I personally will miss her greatly, having performed some of those duties in the past. And I wish her nothing but, the best of luck in the future. And I do think the night meetings, that's one of the kickers. So leave it at that. But thank you, Christina, for myself, as well as, many of the other staff with whom you've interacted.
Thank you.
I will expect my business cards before you leave. Just say. You can't leave until that's done.
I will check on them. Thank you.
I think John has
We're
a
holding
comment.
her hostage.
Go ahead, John.
I wanted to thank Christina because she's been working with me trying to solve my tech problems. And has been she's been very patient with all of us, both as board members and as members of RA before being board members. So she's done a fabulous job. We're going to miss her. I'm very happy for her to get a position that is even more expansive. And I'm really happy that she's going to be staying around in the community. So we don't lose a neighbor and a friend. So, and I don't know if we want to give Christina a chance to respond, but I think that would be appropriate. But thank you so much, Christina.
Christina, you can respond if you want to. I don't want to put you on the spot. If you have a response, go for it. If not, you're perfectly fine. We know how you feel.
No, just very sincerely, thank you all. I appreciate it. Definitely. Thank you.
Very welcome. And talking about tech problems and staff, I have another shout out for Saeed. I was harassing Tom Deal to get Teams access for our fiscal committee. And I think Saeed was traveling on vacation and it was 11 o'clock at night and he still got it done for us. So huge thanks to our IT team. Any other comments? Any other members? Seeing none. Moving on to executive session. If there is a motion to move into executive session, please.
So move.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes, Tony?
What's the purpose of the executive session?
There you go. Contractual matters, violation matters, personnel matters, consultation with counsel. That good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll see you on the other side. Thank you, folks.
Good evening. This is the Treasury report for June 2022. I'm Bob Petrine, Treasurer of Reston Association. I would like to summarize the financial performance of the association for the first half of 2022 as quite satisfactory. The association has generated 93% or $18.2 million of the total revenue budgeted for the year against $7.8 million or 45% of budgeted operating expenses. Regarding revenues, the overall positive variance in revenues continues to be driven by particularly strong registration for camps, aquatics, and tennis. The significant negative variances are the result of increased use of credit cards to pay for member assessments and other payments, and a continued slowdown in new sponsorships and advertising revenue. As regards expenses, the largest positive variances in expenses continues to reflect substantially lower personnel costs, which are due primarily to key vacancies that have yet to be filled. The largest negative variances are reflected in higher fuel costs, up 48% on a year-over-year basis, construction materials up 50%, and chemicals up 15%. I'd like to begin with a brief review of the association's balance sheet. Total assets have increased about $2 million in the past year. This is due primarily to an increase in fixed assets of $1.18 million, with the remainder due to an increase in cash and reserves. Current liabilities are down $176,000, and long-term liabilities have remained reasonably constant over that period. Net assets have increased almost $2.3 million. Moving on to accounts receivable. Accounts receivable in total are very comparable on a year-over-year basis, which indicates to me that there has been no material change in the pattern of collections in the past year. In the past month, RA has collected almost $331,000, largely from members paying their 2022 assessments. In the graphic to the left of the schedule, we have provided a breakdown of the account as it represents the status of member assessments. Of those totals, about $130,000 represents members who have either applied for an installment plan or have qualified for tax relief. $202,000 represents 3 apartment owners who are paying their assessments on an installment basis. And $386,000 represent members who are past due and have not yet arranged for a payment plan. The remaining $1.2 million largely represents accounts in collection. The last area I will cover is to provide a very brief update on the current status of the 3 major summer services and programs that RA provides to its members: camps, aquatics, and tennis/pickleball. The camps have well over 2,000 registered campers. There are 17 different types of camp. While most are full, some have waiting lists and slots are available at others. From a financial perspective, camps cover all their operating costs. While it may not be obvious from the schedule that you can see, camps will generate net revenue of about $100,000 in 2022. Aquatics. The 15 pools which RA operates are not intended to cover their operating costs. They are the most expensive amenity RA has to operate and maintain, but RA is committed to maintaining the number and quality of its facilities. Tennis. Tennis/pickleball is also not intended to cover its operating costs. As you can see, the annual operating costs of tenants are substantially lower than those of pools. They do not require chemical balancing, continuous cleaning, or lifeguards. As with the pools, RE is fully committed to maintain the quality of these facilities as well.
Good evening. My name is Chris Shoemaker, Director of Capital Projects. I'm here to give you an overview of the draft 2023 capital budget. First, we'll start off with how we develop the capital budget. The department uses multiple data points to develop the capital budget, including the reserve study, best practices on construction, and board directives. We then review those data points and establish a project listing. And from that listing, we then develop estimates for those projects using reserve study cost estimates, prior experience and research, and walkthroughs with trusted contractors and consultants to further refine costs on complex projects. So this is a graphical representation of how the budget process works, starting from the development of the project listing to the development of the capital budget. So before I get into the details of the draft 2023 capital budget, I wanted to provide some background on our capital funding and reserves. The first item is the Repair and Replacement Reserve Fund, or better known as RRF. This fund is for the replacement of existing assets. It's funded annually via the assessment according to a 10-year rolling average of future project expenses, and is used to avoid erratic contribution needs from the membership from year to year. So in some years we'll fund more than what we need, and then other years we'll fund less. But the objective is to keep the increases to a steady rate versus it being up and down depending on the forecasted expenses in any given year. So when you plot out the 10-year average, you get the graphic you see in front of you. As you can see, by utilizing a 10-year average, we have a nice steady line increasing over time versus the up and down ones that you see in that green expense line. Below that graphic is the table that outlines it in more detail. As you can see, the assessment in 2023, assuming 21,000 equivalent units, is around $185 on the assessment, which is a $79 increase over 2022. However, that large difference is attributed to the buy down of the capital contribution by using excess capital as well as operating reserves. The normal year-over-year delta on the assessment is around $10 increase. However, the assessment does not account for CARF operational expenses, which I'll get into next. The next fund I'm going to talk about is the Capital Asset Acquisition Reserve Fund, or better known as CARF. This is separate from the RRF and is used exclusively for the purchase or acquisition of new capital assets, and it's funded on an as-needed basis versus using a 10-year average. Once a CARF project is completed, however, it's entered into the asset inventory and included with future RRF replacements as well as being part of the 10-year average. Now, replacements of existing vehicles and equipment is a RRF expense. However, if we were to purchase something new, such as a spider lift or a deep tie and aerator, that would then be CARF because it doesn't currently exist in our asset inventory. Now, outside of the capital funds is a new initiative called the Capital Improvement Plan, which is a comprehensive document that outlines all projects, both major and routine, for the next 5-year period. And it's a planning document that's updated and moved forward on an annual basis. This is very much like other local agencies, where they then create a new plan outside of your typical funding model that focuses on near-term projects that have far more accuracy and detail than you would in a 10 or 30-year outlook. The capital improvement plan includes a synopsis of each major project with the assumptions and current estimated costs. It also outlines every project, both RRF and CARF, over the next 5 years, and provides a general description, schedule, and estimated expense. On this slide, you can see a synopsis of the next 5 years for the capital budget by project category. As you can see, the budget can vary from year to year depending on the RRF requirements as well as the requested CARF projects. However, CARF projects would necessitate specific approval by the board of directors, and have been included in this table purely for presentational purposes. Now you might be wondering, what is a major capital project? Well, that is a project that has a total project cost of more than $500,000, and it's not something that is considered routine or reoccurring. Because of that, it's a project that is associated with a strategic goal of the association, and it's specifically identified for improvement or reinvestment. And these projects follow what we call the capital improvement process, which is a phased process from project initiation, planning and scoping, design, architecture, engineering, estimation and procurement, implementation and construction, to eventually evaluation. Between each of those phases, there are key decision points that require board approval before moving on. This allows the board to control and check a project before it moves into its next project lifecycle phase. On this slide includes a forecast of the major projects in the next 5 years. All the project schedules, of course, are still subject to change and require board approval via the capital improvement process. And the Shadowwood Pool refurbishment is still pending a cost estimation update following the direction from the board to refurbish versus renovate. As you can see, funding can be spread out over multiple years for these projects due to their complexity, and it allows us to provide a planning year prior to construction. An example is the Hook Road Recreation Area, which has segmented funding over time to develop the site in phases. Now, these figures also could include RRF as well as CARF projects. In addition, costs generally assume a like-for-like replacement with some added expenses for architecture, engineering, and ADA accessibility. So anything new or additional beyond what's existing would therefore increase the cost of the project. Now I'd like to get into specific major projects that are coming up in the next 5 years. But first, I want to talk about one major project that is currently in progress, which is the Lake Throw Pool project. After a 7-month effort, we have finally obtained all the local and state required permits we need to begin the project. Now, this was unprecedented and unanticipated, and this delay has caused us to miss our 2023 Memorial Day weekend opening. However, we will push as hard as we can to have the facility open and available for usage sometime during the 2023 swim season. Once we have begun mobilization on site, the project will take about 12 months, and we're currently forecasting a budget of around $3.7 million. The next major project I want to talk about is the Shadowwood Pool refurbishment. Earlier this year, the board gave a directive to refurbish versus renovate the facility, and include elements such as squaring off the west end of the pool for lap swimming, creating an accessible route from the parking lot to the bathhouse, evaluating the conversion of the wading pool into a splash pad, and performing upgrades to the pool filtration equipment. Currently, the cost of this project is unknown and will be provided following the estimation phase of the project lifecycle. We hope to have this project completed sometime in 2023, but until we are further along with the permitting process, it's difficult to determine exactly when we'll be opening. Another major project that's scheduled for next year is the renovation of Glade Tennis. Now, Glade Tennis was built in 1970 as an asphalt court, and then it was converted to clay in 1999. However, soon after that renovation, the subsurface irrigation system had issues and was causing problems for mitigating and controlling the dryness of the court. In 2018, a severe storm toppled several large trees that further damaged the court irrigation and the rubber membrane that supports the courts from underneath. We performed some temporary repairs, but more work is needed. We suggest a full replacement of the irrigation and lighting system like we did at North Hills back in 2019. The current estimated cost is around $588,000. However, we're still waiting for updated cost estimates from contractors before we are ready to set an official budget for this project. The next major project that is starting its planning process in 23 and then construction in 24 is the Lake Newport Tennis renovation. Lake Newport Tennis was built in 1985 and is the largest and most popular tennis facility in Reston. It has 6 lighted courts, a permanent year-round bathroom, terrace viewing area, and a wooden gazebo. In 2010, a conceptual design was proposed to convert it to an indoor facility, but it never materialized. In 2020, money was allocated for lighting upgrades. However, upon initial inspection, we discovered that the light pole footers were submerged under multiple layers of asphalt and were so corroded that their removal would likely cause more damage beyond the scope. After further evaluating with staff, we determined that the facility would be best going through a full renovation and is currently estimated to be around $1.5 million. The next project that is occurring in 2024 through 2026 is the redevelopment of Hook Road Recreation Area. One of RA's most popular parks with multiple recreational amenities including baseball, tennis, basketball, as well as a hitting wall. In 2018, the Hook Road Working Group was developed, and after a year-long effort, developed a conceptual master plan that was then approved by the Board of Directors and focused on 4 areas of enhancement, including roadway safety, ball field safety, permanent bathrooms, and accessibility and open space. In 2022, this year, we have submitted a minor site plan that we are awaiting approval. And the intent is to phase the project over time according to the priorities set by the working group. A project we have in 2025 is Lake Ann Dam. Lake Ann Dam was built in the 1960s and is a critical impounding structure for Lake Ann and also serves as a vehicular crossing for Wheelie Avenue. Several years ago, it was identified by the state as being a high hazard dam with a risk of overtopping during major flood events. However, this classification was not unique to Reston, and many other dams in the state were also classified as such. Those dam owners were in an uproar over the requirements they would have to do in order to bring these dams up to these new standards. And therefore, the state is developing a technical review panel to review these requirements. However, they have not yet formed and therefore could push this project further out in the schedule. If we were to have to do an intervention to this dam, it would likely be armoring the backside of it, which could cost somewhere in the realm of over $1.1 million. Another major project in 2025 is the Uplands Tennis renovation. Uplands Tennis was built in 1970 and has 4 unlit courts and a small dedicated parking lot. Initial evidence has suggested that following multiple asphalt overlays, there's reflective cracking in the courts that require a full depth reclamation, which is the same process we did at Hook Road several years ago. We also need to perform some improvements to the stormwater drainage in the area. In 2021, we inspected a storm drain that runs underneath the courts and discovered multiple cracks that indicate that its useful life is near approaching and should be replaced alongside the renovation. We currently estimate this project to be around $589,000. A project we have scheduled in 25 and construction in 26 is the GCI pool renovation. GCI was built in 64 and the bathhouse rebuilt in 84 after a fire. It is our oldest unrenovated main pool in Reston. The wading pool was converted to zero depth in 2015. In 1998, there was a vision to redevelop the site, but the plans have been materialized. But those plans included providing a new water slide, a playground, an amphitheater, and separate child and adult areas. The estimated cost to renovate the facility as is around $1.7 million. In 2026, we are anticipating the renovation of Shadowwood Tennis. Shadowwood Tennis was built in 1976 and has 4 lighted courts with a shared parking lot with a swimming pool. And like the other tennis courts, they're showing initial evidence of reflective cracking following multiple asphalt overlays. In 2018, a crack repair was done, and we anticipate by 2026 its life expectancy will have been reached. It will be time for its full depth reclamation and renovation like the other tennis court facilities. It will also mark the last tennis facility to being converted to the energy efficient LED lighting technology. We're currently forecasting this renovation to be around $825,000. The last major project we have scheduled in the capital improvement plan is a renovation of Ridge Heights Pool in 26 and 27. Ridge Heights was built in 1982 and is only currently one of the 2 heated outdoor pools in Reston. And it uses electric heaters, which are unfortunately very inefficient at heating bodies of water of this size and cost around $11,000 in electrical costs. In 1990, the pool was outfitted with a bubble enclosure that was then later removed. The facility is surrounded by dense tree cover that causes severe staining. It also has no deck lighting for dusk or nighttime operations. And a future renovation will also require interior and exterior modifications to meet ADA code. The estimated cost to perform this renovation in 26 and 27 is around $2.2 million. Now I'd like to talk about some of the proposed Capital Asset Acquisition Reserve Fund capital projects. Now these projects were proposed by staff and were driven by suggestions from the Parks Recreation Advisory Committee as well as members and users and the Board of Directors. And some of these projects take opportunities to combine them with other scheduled RRF projects for better economies of scales and better practices of construction. But these projects require approval by the board and have only been included in the 23 capital budget improvement plan for presentational purposes only. The first proposed CARF project is the Hunters Woods Field redevelopment, which was a community-led initiative to reactivate the park that is currently a disused baseball field. The project has been approved by the DRB and includes the installation of a ring and internal pathways, on-site storm drainage management, and park furniture. The final budget estimate is pending, but a placeholder of $500,000 has been included in the 2023 CARF budget. The next project is the electrification of the Polofield spray park. Currently, this spray park uses a battery-powered control system that is unreliable and requires frequent service. The project entails the installation of a hardwired or solar system in conjunction with the already RRF scheduled renovation of the spray feature. The estimated cost of the upgrade is around $12,000. The next project is the North Hills Park Pavilion ADA upgrades. This project was initially proposed in 2020 alongside the temporary road pavilion ADA enhancements that were completed earlier this year. This project entails the installation of ADA parking space and a pathway from the parking lot to the pavilion, as well as an accessible route to the playground. We would also perform modifications to the bathroom enclosure to make it compliant. Like Polofields, this project coincides with other RRF projects already scheduled, and we estimate these upgrades to be around $60,000. The final CARF project proposed in the 2023 budget is the Nature House Electric Charging Station. This will be our first electric charging station at an RA-owned facility and will coincide with the purchase of our first electric fleet vehicle. We currently estimate this installation at $15,000. If you have any questions or comments, please contact the Capital Projects Department at capitalprojects@reston.org or call us at 703-435-6556. Thank you.
I'm Cam Adams, the Director of Covenants Administration here at Reston Association, and today we're at Thoreau Place, an active adult condo association here in the South Lakes District. What a gem this community is, with an active board and, as you can see, a very vibrant and unique design. Covenant staff recently met with members of Thoreau Place to answer covenants-related questions, and as we continue to do this series, please continue to share your questions or have your cluster condo board reach out to meet with staff in your community for show and tell. In this series, we will cover frequently asked questions received during the home selling process and the design review board. I am selling my home. When is the best time to order my resale disclosure package? First, seek the advice of your real estate agent, as they are the best to advise on timing for ordering a disclosure package. However, homes are going under contract more quickly, so members have benefited from being proactive in ordering disclosures as soon as they want to sell, or even before the home hits the market. This allows owners to correct any maintenance or design citations and reduces unnecessary added stress when settlement date is approaching. I received a violation for a party element party wall. What does this mean? Each wall or fence that is built on the dividing line between two or more lots shall constitute a party wall or element. Homeowners who share a party wall or fence equally have the right to use and the responsibility to maintain the shared element, which includes an easement to access the portion of the property necessary for repair and maintenance. Please note the party wall includes all elements attached, which include trim, siding, brick, wood, etc. I received an email requesting to sign a waiver for my DRB application. What am I signing the waiver for? The RA deed permits some DRB applications to be reviewed by a panel of the DRB, which must consist of a quorum of 2 design professionals and 1 lay member. In some situations, a DRB member may unexpectedly be unable to attend the meeting. For those matters, Covenant staff is proactive to request the applicant to sign a waiver to have their application reviewed by 2 members instead of 3. Applicants may request a 3-person panel, however, this will more than likely delay a decision. A waiver does not release an applicant or affected party's rights to appeal a decision. How can I provide feedback on my experience with the design review board process? There are actually several ways that you can do this. These methods include 1. Sending an email to drb@reston.org. 2. Attending a panel or full design review board meeting and addressing the DRB during member comments. Or 3. After receiving a DRB decision, the DRB Covenant staff provides a link for members to complete a short survey to share their experience. To watch more videos on frequently asked questions, please check the description box below for links to those videos. For more information and to contact your Covenants advisor, please call 703-435-6530. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Soloff, the Community Events Supervisor for the Reston Association, and I'm excited to announce that the annual dog paddle event is here again. As we begin to close down pools, it gives us a special opportunity to share the pools with our four-legged friends. They will have an opportunity to get in and splish splash around in the sun. New this year, the event is scheduled for 5 days at 5 different pools and for the entire day from 9 to 5:30 p.m. This fun event will allow your pup to socialize with other dogs and get wet while chasing their favorite toys. But please remember, people will not be permitted in the pools and proof of a current dog license is required. For more details, please visit the link in the description section of this video. For questions, you can email me at ashley@reston.org or call 703-435-6577. And I look forward to seeing you and your pups at the pool.
Hi, my name is Ben Rhodes. I'm the Watershed Manager with the Reston Association, and today we are at Lake Thoreau. July is Lakes Appreciation Month, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the ways that Reston Association maintains our lakes for recreation, environmental protection, and water quality. And we have 4 lakes: Lake Audubon, Lake Thoreau, Lake Newport, and Lake Anne. At each lake you can kayak, stand-up paddleboard, go fishing, or do some bird watching. You can enjoy our rental fleet of boats at Lake Anne. We have tandem kayaks, single kayaks, and pedal boats. We value the natural resource we have with these lakes, and to keep them healthy, every summer we have environmental professionals come out, monitor the lakes for chemical and biological parameters, and then use that monitoring information to provide scientifically informed treatment and management decisions. Not only do we have environmental professionals come and help us on these lakes, but we also have dedicated volunteers who help provide habitat structures for the native wildlife. This includes turtle platforms, catfish habitat boxes, Christmas tree drops, and all of those things help give a home for those animals so that they can feel more comfortable in these man-made lakes. Reston Association also hosts corporate cleanup programs as well as hires 2 seasonal employees every year dedicated to keeping our lakes clean and free of litter. Also, we have homeowners around the lakes that will do cleanups on their own regularly, and I encourage you to do your part. Let's keep our lakes clean for years to come. Reston Association also has a Living Shoreline cost share program. Living shorelines are areas of shoreline without any hard surfaces, just a biolog or coconut fiber log planted with native plants that help provide habitat as well as erosion protection for homeowners. If you are a homeowner on one of Reston's lakes and you'd like to get involved with the Living Shoreline Cost Share program, please feel free to reach out to me, Ben Rhodes, by emailing watershed@reston.org. I hope you love these lakes just as much as we do here at Reston Association, and this July I challenge you all to get out on the lakes, get on a kayak, do some fishing, some bird watching, and really enjoy these natural resources for all they have to offer.
Phoebe Avery. I'm with Public Art Reston, and we're really excited to be here today for the install of the 8th sculpture by the South Lakes High School STEAM team being installed by Reston Association, our partner. We support this project annually. It's their 10th anniversary year. They started in 2012. The first sculpture was in 2014. And so it's really built into this expectation amongst the neighbors on Lake Thoreau and then in Reston in general. And we're just excited to be a part of this project.
Here we have two heads looking at the southern sky, looking to the heavens like the heads on Easter Island. The spinning elements in the center of the sculpture are a detail that talk about the synapsing of neurons in the brain. They research the right and left brain, your right brain more analytical, left brain more creative, but in reality, through recent studies, they have found that the brain's always functioning as a unit, and so this synapsing is occurring and neuroplasticity is occurring all the time. My name is Marco Rando, art teacher at South Lakes High School. We are looking at the 8th edition of STEAM Team's Public Art Program. This is a school program where students go through all the rigors a professional would to complete a public work of art. Out of the way, but these are the two main structures, so you can kind of walk them up. Definitely hundreds of students been through this program. The first year, there were only 4 students who saw the project through. One of those students had an eye on being an architect, and it was his concept that drove the pyramid shape. Now that student is actually a working architect. Yeah, do you think you can reach?
So Mr. Rando and the rest of my peers, we went through a very long process together, so we have definitely grown closer, and learning all these things together has created similar yet also different mindsets, because we all bring something to the table that wasn't there before. I definitely think that I'd be using STEAM in the future, and I want to go into probably engineering mixed with art. I was able to work on things that people do after college or don't have the chance to do in high school, but I got that chance and it's been great.
This is the first year I've done STEAM Team, and overall it's been like one of the funnest projects I've ever done with like a school group. An example I give about this is like back in robotics club, I used one power tool. Building this thing, I have used the belt sander, the disc sander, the drill press, the bandsaw, the miter saw, the table saw. I've used every tool they'll let me. It makes me feel like impressed, like proud of our work, you know? Because that was like a few months right there of design and build and going back to the drawing board with a few ideas. And after finally getting that thing standing, it's just proud to know that we finally did something on the lake.
I'd say it's very fun. You might think it's not for everybody, but there's something for everybody. Like, I've helped with construction and I've taken photos of the models, helped with the presentation. Like, you don't necessarily have to stay for the building process. Just helping with going to RA, saying, hey, we want to build this, is a huge help in of itself. I think it's shown me that doing more than just the necessary work in school is important. Like, working with other people, it's not easy at first, but it's very important in life to have good collaboration skills.
It's really nice getting to see something you've worked on physically out there. I've learned a lot about engineering, craftsmanship, how to put things together. I like seeing our plans work in front of us.
I'm Amy Petersberger, Lakefront Coordinator here for Reston Association. Today we're down at the beautiful Lake Audubon to tell you about our paddleboarding classes. So down here on the lake, we take people out for private lessons, group lessons. We've got yoga going on. We are spending time out in nature, getting a good workout while being outdoors. Our paddleboarding workouts are a great way to get in shape, to enjoy time outside, to spend time with friends and loved ones, all while on the beautiful Lake Audubon. The most wonderful thing about paddleboarding is that it is beginner friendly. We've taken so many people out that it's been their first time and they have just enjoyed the experience, laughing, being playful, trying something new, all while spending time outside with their friends, enjoying the time out on the lake. We offer a variety of different sessions here for our paddleboarding program. Everything from it's your first time on your board, you're learning how to do everything, learning the proper paddling technique, getting wonderful ab stability workout, leg workout while you're learning how to paddle properly. We also offer yoga classes. Same thing, you're going to be out here learning how to balance, wind down, have a wonderful relaxing session, all while getting that wonderful strength and stability work. Perhaps you're not feeling quite ready to get onto a paddleboard on our lakes. If not, we have the perfect class for you as well. We also offer both paddleboarding fitness classes and paddleboarding yoga classes at Lake Audubon Pool. So if you're looking to get your toe wet, just to try it out, that's also a wonderful option that we have for you here at Reston Association. For more information, feel free to contact me at raboatrentals@reston.org. I only got into this a few years ago, and now it is an integral part of my life. I can't wait to share that experience with you.
We want to welcome everyone to the first annual Multicultural Night here at Dogwood.
Welcome to Dogwood Elementary School and our first multicultural event where we're celebrating our public art wall mural by Hamilton Glass.
Hey, my name is Rachel Albert. I'm a resource teacher and support staff at Dogwood Elementary. And this is just an amazing mural that's being worked on right now by a muralist from Richmond, Hamilton Glass. And he is working with our school motto, which is peace, which at Dogwood stands for peace, equity, access, connection, and excellence, which are just things that we hope for all students here. Yeah, I mean, this has been a work in progress, something we've been trying to get up here for a long time to really just build that sense of community and regroup together post-pandemic. And there is like that sense of ownership and understanding that this is theirs, this represents their school, the hopes and dreams that we have for them, and just to put some, you know, brightness and light into their world these days is just an awesome feeling.
This is Mr. Glad. He's painting a wall that is in ancient toes at Dogwood School.
It's always special working in a school. I can remember growing up and not having any representation around like a living, working, breathing artist. And so being able to now be that is super special and be able to be that kind of representation for that. But also teaching kids how important public art is in general and how education can be more than just books, right? It can be creativity, imagination, and all of that stuff can take you really far. So we created an All In Together project, a mural that was filled with coloring sheets that came together to make an indoor mural. And so this particular mural is based off of that mural that lives indoors. It's special because the kids got to take part in painting it, of course, that original design, which they had a part in. And they get to see the process of it happening. So they kind of get the full experience of the artwork. And I think as human beings, we all gravitate towards creativity in one manner or another, and I think the arts are always something that we need to dive deep into, whether it's to connect, whether it's to talk, empathize, and just kind of live this human experience together. And so creativity is one of those things that draws us together. It's just really important and special to be able to be in a school and represent the arts and show kids that they can do anything they want, and really kind of just like set fire to their imagination.
If you're going to have a good time tonight, I need to hear you right now. One more time. Give it up for the PTO.
Hi, I'm Ashley Soloff with the Reston Association, and new this year we're doing outdoor movie rentals. This is an opportunity for your corporation, your churches, your schools. Bring the family, your friends together. This fun outdoor activity can accommodate up to 400 people with our brand new high-definition movie equipment. We have concessions, lawn games, a great sound system. If movies and popcorn sound like something that you're interested in, please contact me to help you design your perfect outing.
Welcome to the Reston Farmers Market 25th year at the Lake Ann Village Center in Reston, Virginia. I am Fran Lovis. This is John Lovis. We're co-market managers with the Fairfax County Park Authority. We also have Keith Strange and Ann Strange working with us as co-market managers, and it's a beautiful Saturday to be out shopping at your local farmers market.
People tend to think of farmers markets in terms of produce and orchard products, and we got 9 of the best in the world. And right now it's all the leafy greens you can imagine, and radishes and asparagus. Meanwhile, we got 22 other vendors, seafood, a wide selection of meats. You've got mushrooms, we've got 3 different bakeries. We've got all kinds of farm value-added products.
Well, I come out here very frequently, perhaps 3 or 4 times in a month, or certainly lots of times during the course of the season. The reason is the freshness and the quality of the food that's offered. You have onions here, scallions. You have kohlrabi, beets, radishes. Well, the Reston Farmers Market is an institution that's been here for 25 years. The Reston Association was partly instrumental in its founding, along with Lovis's, and it is something that has become an institution in Reston and serves Reston very well over the last 25 years.
Cornerstone, the best charity in Northern Virginia, is here running a supplemental nutrition assistance program tent, which allows our lowest income neighbors to eat at the farmers market.
Our market is all local, all fresh. All of our vendors from 125 miles. And we also have a very walkable, bikeable, and even people come across the lake on boats. We have a big community that supports us every year, and we are very, very proud of our vendors and our customers. Thank you. Please come down and see all the wonderful things we have here.
Come be part of the market.
Hi, we're here at Lake Ann Plaza on the dock to announce the addition of 14 new boats to our rental fleet. We've got these new pedal boats you see here. These new paddle boats will also have shade awnings on them, so you don't have to worry about the sun while you're out there. These are our new single and tandem kayaks. Our hours of operation are going to be Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. The last rental will go out 1 hour before closing. You're welcome to bring your fishing gear and try your luck out on the lake. Just please keep in mind there is no swimming at any time. We look forward to you joining us here at Lake Ann Plaza. While enjoying all of the new boats, you can visit all of the shops and restaurants that are also here. Here at RA Boat Rentals, we also have group and private rentals available. Please contact RA Boat Rentals at reston.org for more information.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks, for being patient with us. We are back. And if I could have a cleansing motion, anyone have it? If not, I can. I'll go for it.
I motion, I move that the Reston Association Board of Directors certifies to the best of each board member present, that board members' knowledge that only those matters appropriate for executive session of a violation, contractual, personnel, and consultation with counsel were heard, discussed, or considered by the board during executive session.
Fantastic. At the end of this year, we'll all have that memorized, I'm sure. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. John, you're abstaining on that? Okay. Okay. Move to ratify legal. Does anybody have a motion to ratify and approve the decisions reached in executive session to adopt legal committee's recommendations?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Lori. Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. And John's an abstention on that as well.
I'm abstaining as well.
Perfect. Okay, Larry, if your guests are here, we can move on to our agenda item F with the Fairfax County easements.
I believe Charles Smith.
I think I see Charles, right?
There he is.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Charles.
Evening.
And Christine, if you could pull up the very short slide deck that they have, that would be appreciated.
Sure, 1 second.
Charles, we'll you can give your own introduction and let you walk through the slide deck, and we'll see if any of the board members have questions for you.
Great. Thank you very much, Larry. My name is Charles Smith. I'm a branch chief with the Fairfax County Department of Public Works, Environmental Services, Stormwater Planning Division. And I am the representative that covers the Hunter Mill District as well as several other districts. Several years ago, Reston Association staff, 2 bends ago, as a matter of fact, it was Nikki, approached us to talk about particularly problematic stream channels that were eroding and causing problems within Reston Association properties. Next slide, please. So what we came back with, we restored one of those. That was the Snake Den tributary at Lake Audubon, it's in the Cedar Cove area. That we completed a couple years ago. This is the second one. This is the Piney Branch tributary at Lamplighter Way. It's to restore about 1,400 feet of channel that's highly eroded. There are exposed stream banks, trees falling in. There's also exposed infrastructure in the form of wastewater infrastructure, sewer lines. And those were brought to us by the community and Reston staff. Next slide, please. The general location you can see on the Lamplighter Way is actually to the kind of the middle of the area there, and then Cedar Cove. Sorry, not Cedar Cove. It is Center Harbor. No, what's the name of it, Larry? It's
Woodbrook.
It's a harbor. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, Center Harbor Road.
It is Center Harbor. Center Harbor is the
right.
is the cul-de-sac to the right of the image. So this stream originates out of pipes that are the county's responsibility, but it enters a channel on Reston Association property that is highly eroded. It's not an easement, so the county does not have authority or control over that channel currently. And it erodes as it's moving towards the main stem of Piney Branch, which is the upper end of the image there. Next slide, please. This is some examples of the eroded channel. Next slide, please. And this is a particularly bad section on the upper end above the pink trail, which runs through the project area. Next slide, please. And this is one of the exposed sewer lines. Next slide, please. And here's the other exposed sewer line. And just for reference, when the houses were built, those sewer lines in the, I think it's the early 90s, late 80s, the houses were built, those sewer lines were actually under the stream channel. They have unfortunately were buried very shallow, but at the same time, the channel did go over top of those pipes. So this project needs to rebury those pipes in order to protect them as well as to prevent future erosion. Next slide, please. What we're asking the board this evening is to convey an easement to the county. This easement would be over the floodable area, generally as shown in this image, on RA land. It would allow us not only to restore the stream channel, but also the county would be responsible for maintaining it for the life of the facility, which essentially is in perpetuity. It also means that any flooding that occurs related to that channel is now a county responsibility. So Fairfax County would be the entity contacted if there are any issues in the future. And we have been working very closely with RA staff as well as community leaders and members through multiple meetings with the residents that live around the proposed project site. In order to proceed with the project, we do need to obtain land rights from RA. I will note there are 2 private property owners. We also need land rights for temporary access because the stream is currently on their property, and we propose to move it off of their property onto RA land so that we can protect their individual parcels. We did work with RA several years ago. It was actually 2017 to obtain an easement to complete the Snake Den tributary at Lake Audubon project. So we are asking for the same language in the proposed easement under this project. Next slide, please. And the primary contact for this is a staff member in my branch, Shannon Bell. She's been working very closely again with Ben and Larry, Mike before he left, and others. And we're happy to take any questions from you all. And we're also, again, very pleased to be working with Preston Association on this project. I see Mr. Farrell has a question.
Go ahead, John.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Can we go back to the slide that showed the area of the easement? We got the actual easement plat this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
And generally, I mean, this work needs to be done. I have a concern. Okay. Can we enlarge this so we can see the pink trail? Thank you. For those of you who can't make it, the pink trail kind of loops through the easement area. And when I'm used to dealing with this easement language, it's fairly standard county easement, but we would need county permission to do any work connected to the pink trail. And, trails aren't forever, and they do need to have work done in them. And I'm wondering if the standard language in the deed can reflect the existence of the pink trail and that RA reserves the right, despite giving you all the county an easement, reserves the right to maintain and repair, renovate, whatever the pink trail as it goes across the easement area.
I'm not an attorney. I will say my previous experience with similar situations is that this is RA land. RA has the right to exercise, to essentially construct facilities as the landowner. In this case, the pink trail is existing infrastructure. Our obligation is to essentially protect it while we construct our facility and ensure that if we cause any damage, to repair or restore damage. We could certainly discuss it further. I don't think in the past we've had any issues with this, what you've brought up, because it is, again, your facility that we're obligated to protect and or restore if we damage.
Madam President,
Sure.
the standard language of the floodplain and storm drain easement says that we have to get the county permission to do any work within the easement area, even though we own it. And so what I'm aiming for here is not to have to get the county's permission to maintain the pink trail.
Okay.
And that the document, the ultimate deed that gets signed, preserves that right without having to go and get the head of DPW and ES to sign off on maintenance on the Pink Trail or restoration or rebuilding or whatever we're going to do. Lots of people use that trail, and we wouldn't want to delay repair or maintenance work waiting for DPW ES to give us a mother may I.
So my
Lori?
correct understanding, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Lori, you had your
That's
hand up?
fine. No, let's go ahead and let Mr. Smith respond to that.
Oh, and just to kind of summarize, so what I heard from you, Mr. Farrell, was essentially a request to add language to the proposed easement to recognize the existence of the Pink Trail and Reston's rights to maintain that facility without any consultation from with the county.
Well, approval, not consultation. Happy to consult. I just don't want to have to get the county approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that similar language that was used for Snake Den? Because I know there are paths that run concurrent with that stream also.
No, ma'am.
The Snake Den didn't have any formal trails. It's at Cedar Cove. There were no paved or otherwise formally recognized trails within that particular area.
I guess they're not paved. You're correct.
So my question was just, can we expect that there will be any loss of trees in the process of this work? Because we know how Restonians feel about our trees.
Yes, ma'am. And we certainly will have to go to the DRB as we move forward with design. We're currently at the 35% design. We paused that process until we can obtain land rights, or essentially a surety that we can get land rights in order to invest more in the design process. But we have been working closely with Larry and his staff, as well as with the community members, and that has been a primary issue. So we've worked to modify the design significantly to minimize tree take, to move as far away as possible from individual property boundaries. And we're working in many cases within the channel, as well as we are working on the Pink Trail for portions of it, and have had a lot of discussions about how we can keep the Pink Trail open to the greatest extent possible during construction. So those are the primary issues, I think, by residents is our trees and the Pink Trail.
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks? Larry, any thoughts or comments you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think Charles Jacker, and you know, I don't know who the county attorney is specifically that this request would go to, but we can, you know, certainly request what John suggested.
Yeah.
With respect to that. I know, you know, the county's usually pretty tight with their easement language. They're kind of their standard easements. Yes. I'm being gracious, John. I see you chuckling, but Charles recognized that as well. But I think, you know, we've got a pretty good partnership. We've done a lot of projects with the county, and so hopefully we can get this through without too much hassle.
Larry, what I'd be happy to do, I can draft some language, send it to you. I can also send it to the director of our land acquisition division. I think we could come to some agreement as to we feel that's appropriate. Then we'll bounce off the county attorney, and it wouldn't take very long to come to a conclusion about language we think is appropriate to preserve your rights, as well as you know, convey the necessary rights for our purposes.
Okay.
Currently the assistant attorney, county attorney working on this stuff is Randy Grehan, and that kind of language has been incorporated into easements in the past and other circumstances based on my personal experience. So shouldn't be a big deal.
Great.
And so we're okay with voting on this via email after we get back from the two of them? Directors, are we okay with that?
I would feel comfortable with that once seeing the amendment.
Correct. So once we have the change, we'll send that out and then we can vote on it unanimously. So we don't have to vote tonight. If we're good with that, Charles, that's good with you?
That's fine with me. And I'm happy to confer back with Larry and yes, and we'll try to get the change done as quickly as possible to meet your needs and also to keep us on track for the project schedule.
Fantastic. So I think that's the only question we had as the board.
Okay.
And once we get that taken care of, we're good to go.
Great. Thank you all very much for your time. And
Thank you so much for coming out on a weeknight.
I want to thank Larry, by the way, and Ben. By the way, we had our last meeting. I think it was what, 18 degrees outside, Larry, on a Saturday. We were out there for like 2.5, 3 hours with the residents.
It was really cold.
Yeah.
Really, really cold.
So
Not like now.
I was ready to wrap that meeting up, I gotta tell you.
we stayed and answered every question.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Take care,
Bye.
Charles.
Okay, bye.
Okay, agenda item G. And a little background, agenda item G, we've all seen the comments from our advisory committees. And I've asked Directors Farrell and Juszczyk to lead us in this conversation. The only request from me is keep us on time, but we're ahead, so you have a few extra minutes, so go ahead, take it away.
Jennifer is on the task force. Jennifer, why don't you lead us on this? Are you muted?
Yeah, I was having an issue with my mute. I'm on the task force, but not as an RA board member. I would say that the task force this evening was voting or attempting to vote on final chapters. One really important one to RA, especially, was Parks and Recreation chapter. The previous board had asked all of our committees for comments related to different chapters that we have committees for. We have received those back, and I think the comments that we received back from the committees on the chapters at the time will give us guidance. Next topic will give us some further guidance on those. Would like to really thank each of our committees that took the time. It takes a lot of time and effort to, read through the text and to think of it from a resident association perspective and give us that feedback. So I want to thank those members. And we as a board on this matter can take action to accept the changes. We'll have them in our packets, so we can entertain a motion to do that, or we could make further edits ourselves to these chapters, if you would like to, and then motion.
And then the motion, where does it go, Jennifer? Are we sending it to Walter and the supervisors, or send it to the task force? So we accept the edits, we recommend it, we take the recommendations, where does it go?
Yeah, I would ask that we decide in this topic item whether to accept the edits to the chapters, and then on the next item on the agenda, we can decide if we want to incorporate that into our official RA positions in some manner or not.
Any thoughts, folks? Go ahead, John.
So having tracked most of these task force meetings, what's coming back from the staff really hasn't addressed any of our advisory committee comments, or they've rejected them out of hand. I think if I understood us correctly, Madam President, what we were going to try and do was to come up with a relatively short, punchy conversation to provide to our membership. And Larry's compiled those and added a couple. I think that thing needs further work.
It's been, we'll get that when we do. I think our secretary, Director Flashman, has helped us narrow it down further. So we're down to 15, or Erwin, correct me if I'm wrong, 15 or 14 items. You're muted.
14.
14.
I also think that the order in which they're presented needs to be changed. The PRAC issues really are the heart of RA's concerns regarding the comprehensive plan, and they need to be done first. They need to be the first things presented. And so I think that I don't know I think we need to figure out a way to do more editing and wordsmithing on those bullet points.
Yeah.
And then I also think we need to come up with line by line changes that we'd like to see made. I think talking at the bullet point level at this stage in the proceedings will be too easy to be ignored. So I would kind of want to volunteer Director Just Check and myself to undertake that exercise. But I don't know what you have in mind, Madam President. So why don't you share with the rest of us?
Thank you. So just to stay on topic, the advisory committee comments that we have. So Jennifer, are you making the motion to accept those? Or do you want one of us to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Bob, go for it.
Which page are we talking about? There's
the three advisory committees that gave us comments. So it's
I understand that, but there's a summary of positions. It's on page 207.
That's the next topic.
Okay,
that's
good.
the next.
Mm.
I thought there was a vote here. There was a motion and a second.
There's a motion and second. We're in discussion. Any other discussion? None. We can vote on it. All in favor?
Sorry, we're voting on page 207 right now?
No, Lori, we're voting on accepting the advisory committees.
The advisory committees, yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Glenn? Yes. Mike, are you a yes or no? Director Collins? Okay, I think it's all of us, and Mike is abstaining.
I'll also motion to have a sub task force, I think is what we call it, not committee, and Tony can help me, created of the board to help us revise specific language, incorporating both the approval we just did on the committees drafts and any future RA positions that this board takes action on.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Just for discussion, we've had the committees give us their bullet points. Larry's consolidated them substantially. Erwin's worked on it substantially. So I would encourage the board to wait to see that before we go into a subcommittee duplicating a task that's been done. And I think Jennifer, you shared your input in that as well in the bullet forms. I think, John, you shared yours. We heard from John Mooney. We heard from all of our advisory committees, including DRB. So can we take a look at those before we talk about next steps? It's just my thoughts. Other directors, I'm open to any of your suggestions.
Certainly, wouldn't the sub task force take a look at everything you've just outlined? And so I don't think these two suggestions are at odds at all. I think
So
they
it will,
support one
the point is it delays it. What we were hoping to do is have the final list voted on and ready to go. So we can use August to be our outreach month where we get the messaging out. We go back to Walter, we use that to educate so it's just that process being delayed.
timing. Yeah.
Timing being delayed, and a lot of folks who have invested time in this. Yes, Jennifer.
I wasn't suggesting that we don't do, the community outreach that is planned for the next agenda item. I'm just saying that there's someone from Reston Association is going to have to turn whatever our positions are into suggested comp plan language. And instead of having the full board take that up between now and the time the Board of Supervisors ultimately approves it, which is after the Planning Commission, those edits are ongoing things. And instead of taking the time of the board, that we have a subcommittee of the board take that task.
Tony?
Concurrently.
Tony, you have your hand up.
A point of clarification. We just call it a committee.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry?
Can't hear you.
Okay, just for clarification, instead of a sub-task force, which doesn't exist in our documents, can we just call it a committee of the board? Designate some, I mean, you can,
Yes.
you can establish a formal committee, in which case you're gonna have to have your meetings open, public, they're gonna have to be videotaped, et cetera. Or you can do an unofficial committee with less than quorum, directors getting together to look this over and present their findings to the board. So one or two ways to do it, but if you're gonna establish an official committee, docs allow it, but just remember you're gonna have to comply with POA.
John, do you have a preference? And thank you, Tony, for that advice. That's what I was looking for.
Can we hear from the other directors how we feel about?
I beg your pardon.
Any thoughts, others? I mean, according to me, we've got Jennifer on the task force already. We have John Mooney and Larry as our representatives there. I'm okay either ways on this. So,
well,
how does the board feel? Others? Any thoughts? Go ahead, John. I think you were trying. Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't seen what Director Flashman has come up with.
Right.
I, having spent as much time as I have on this issue, I'd want an opportunity to work on that before the full board votes on it, and not just, getting it when I get the board package. So I don't know what the state of play is. I'm happy to work with Jennifer and come back to the board with something that's.
Folks, you do realize that we had this conversation last month where we asked the two of you to take the role. And so what is your ETA? What are you thinking timeline wise?
Well, go ahead, Jennifer.
This is a living, breathing document that is going to change multiple times before we get a final approval. So it would be, to me, an ongoing task that as versions come back, then whoever is assigned to this committee would take in those versions, make edits in accordance with any position that this board takes. Now, until the final pen is approved by the supervisors.
So the part I'm struggling with understanding is that different from John Mooney and Larry's role that they've played?
Yes.
Yes, because the task force is going to be done either tonight because we didn't get to go to it, or Mooney probably got to go to it, so he probably knows when the last day of the task force is, but it is going to be before this document goes to the Planning Commission and goes to the Board of Supervisors. So it will extend beyond the task force's mission.
Margaret, you have?
So, yeah, my understanding is that tonight we were hoping to pinpoint the bullet points for what the board's opinions were. And then if you want to tweak them to make them, have more teeth, for example, I don't think that's a problem, but I guess I'm confused. Are we waiting to vote until it's fully fleshed out, or are we voting on here's our bullet points and then we can flesh them out from there?
So there's two different documents, it seems to me. Madam President, if I misspeak, please correct me. But there's two different documents. One is a document that says, change this word on this page to a different word. That's a document that RA ought to be presenting at the Planning Commission or maybe before. There's another document in which we inform the membership what RA's concerns are. And I think that's the next agenda item, right? Do I have that right? That's right. So what we're talking about right now is what I call a red line. Who's doing the red line? And a red line needs to be done. And like with any legislation, it is a moving target, and there needs to be people who are tracking that moving target, and coming back to the full board to say, are we okay with this language or are we okay with that language? And with somebody needs to be doing that for the board, and it should be board members in actuality.
So is that not what Erwin, you were working on?
No.
No, so
What I
Erwin's
worked on-
okay.
What I worked on were the bullet points that will be the subject of the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. So John, Mooney has his hand up. Go ahead, John. You want to step in?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick bit of information from the task force. It was decided that the last task force meeting will be on August 22nd, and that the community outreach Supervisor Alcorn announced tonight would be in September. That's all I know at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I'm happy to, maybe it will become more clear to the board. So with Farrell's approval, I would like to table this motion to the end of the next agenda item.
I'm free. I'm fine with that.
I'm assuming we don't need to vote on it. We've moved it to the end of the next agenda item. Any other thoughts on the advisory committee's edits, suggestions that they've sent? Nope. Yes, Laurie.
Yes. So I would like to have some more input on the language that goes into our outreach to our members. And so I don't know, in order to do that, would I need to be on this committee? And I don't want to join the committee if I'm the person who puts it over the top to have to comply with all the open meeting regulations. And so I don't know how I have input without triggering that level of
at the moment, I think we've tabled it to after the agenda item. So
Okay.
once we go through the bullet points.
Okay, sorry.
Larry, any thoughts? Are you okay with us moving to the next agenda item? Good. Okay, fantastic. I don't know if Erwin, are you comfortable sharing? Or I can share my screen. I have it.
Oh,
we all
sure.
have Larry's list, and all that our secretary, Director Flashman, has done is combined some items, consolidated. Erwin, I'll let you describe what you worked on.
Is there a shared screen?
Give me 1 second. I should have a shared screen for you. Okay.
Okay.
Can
Actually,
everyone see this, or do you want me to?
Nope, forget it.
Larger,
if you
smaller?
can make it larger, that would be great. Very hard to
This-
read it, I think, on the screen.
Do you have your own copy of this, Erwin? Oh.
There we are. Okay. What we did was there were a number of points that were raised by each of the committees, and Larry put them and tried to consolidate those points and reduce them. Sarah and I looked at that this afternoon and tried to do a further consolidation so that they were very succinct points and went to the essential grain of the issues, but didn't stray far from where, or at all, from what had been already done, so that it wasn't as if we were modifying it or changing it and adding things. We tried to stay, but to make it more succinct and easily understood by all who would be intended to read it, including the supervisor in tomorrow's meeting, as well as the
Average
general
member.
populace of Reston. so that it would be easily understood. And of course, anybody could expand on it, or people can expand on it, but this would convey the general and specific message of where Reston stood with each of these issues. So
can we scroll down, please?
I'd like to see the whole document.
Erwin, do you want to go item by item, or do you?
Yeah, let me.
So, Erwin, if you have your own, if you have your own copy on paper, I was able to read it when we got to see both pages on the screen, but I don't know if I'm the only one.
Okay. I don't know whether you can, whether others can read it. I can read what is on the screen here, but and if you'd like, I'll read it.
It's not all there though. I'd rather see the full document if that's possible.
Well,
do you want to go back to that view?
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Can someone email it to us, please, or put it in Dropbox? That would be helpful as well.
Sure, let me do it after we're done.
So you can read as easily as I can read it. So, but if people want me to read it, I will. But,
no.
Was this circulated to the board?
No.
This was done this afternoon.
This is a working document. We wanted to work on it together on this agenda item. That's it. So. I think that's why it would be helpful, Erwin, if you went topic by topic.
Okay.
We can go why we kept some and why you took out some.
All right, then I have to do a comparison.
Well, I don't know whether we need to go into that level of detail right now. I think that John had suggested that the order of presentation of the ideas might need to be changed, and this pretty much reflects the same order of presentation as in the previous document. I mean, to me, when I look at this, there are quite a few changes I would want to make. I mean, I appreciate having it pared down to 14 points, but still there would need to be substantial changes before I would be comfortable with this as the document we send out.
Yes, Bob.
The plan format has already been agreed to by the task force and county staff. The order in which we present the issues that we want to see in the report, they're going to be plunked in to the plan where they fit in the structure.
Okay.
There is no hope.
This is our document. This is not the plan. This is our document.
But in terms of dealing with John Farrell's point, I agree with them. Parks and Recreation are the most important issue to us, but it's not going to be the top issue in the plan. So
I'm not asking for it to be the top issue in the plan. I recognize that the county organizes their stuff the way the county wants to organize it.
Right.
Right.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm done.
That's fine.
Okay, we can reorder this however we like.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if there's an order that is followed in the comp plan we want to follow, or if we want to put Parks and Rec on top, we can move it.
Well,
we can absolutely work on the order.
So my understanding is these are the bullet points that we wanted to stress as being important to RA and the board. And what I have heard here is, for example, Lori, you're not comfortable with what you're seeing here. Therefore, the vote tonight, if anything, would be that it must be amended before the board can say, yes, these are our talking points.
Can you be more specific about what it is that your concerns are?
Lori?
Yeah, so I don't know whether the sequence that is presented here tracks the task force report. I think if this is a document from Reston Association, it needs to be presented in a way that presents our priorities, regardless of how it goes into the final report. And so if our priorities put Parks and Recreation first, and put equity up there and, and lower some of the other things into a less important position in our presentation of what we want to see in the plan, then I to have some time to work on that. I don't know.
Can we scroll down some more? I'm really concerned about what was done to the Parks and Recreation language. Yeah.
Just 2 points, yes?
Yeah, there were 5.
So we've gone from 33 items to bring it down to 14.
I'm focused on the one that I developed. And the issue that we've now lost with this language is the fact that our facilities are aging and we need to provide a way to fund the renovation of those facilities. It's not here, it's gone. That's the single most important issue for Reston Association as an association.
To put that in the task force?
Yeah.
If I may
In the comprehensive plan, do we want the language to read that our facilities are aging and we need money to fix them?
Yeah, that's what PRAC recommended to you.
If I may address that, by pointing it out in that fashion, you're saying people who are new to Reston and to Reston Association and ought to be paying for aging facilities. And that goes against the very principle that you established initially, which is a lot of the facilities that are used by the public, non-members, are out there and they're using them without contributing to their maintenance and repair.
Well, that issue isn't here. That issue isn't here either, Erwin.
Yes, I believe it is.
I don't see it. I'm reading it and I don't see it.
Let me.
Okay, do we want to go back to the 33 and try to pare it down? Do we want to go back to Larry's 33 and try to pare it down?
Yes, I would.
Do we want to try and do that? It's 8:30. We want to try and do that tonight?
Or do we want to create a committee to work on that? I don't know, but having Erwin work on it himself is not including enough input from other members.
So no, that's not, Erwin was trying to consolidate.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Right.
Larry. Yes, go ahead. Larry.
So hearing this and whatnot, I mean, as I said, I did my best to consolidate pretty much every major point. And some of those can be combined. I know, or when you did it, I know this is this afternoon. I didn't have the ability to get this and do anything before the meeting, but maybe the way to approach this is to have Erwin, Jennifer, and John, and if there's one other person, while not establishing any kind of quorum for getting together, to take another crack at it to see if some of the other points, one was just identified about facilities, can be aggregated into these. And, these things can be, 2 or 3 sentences and you still may end up with 14, 15, or 17 or whatever. But maybe that's the way to go, because I think struggling over this tonight,
right?
And I'm not just trying to get out of the meeting early, let me just say that, but even though we do have a bet, I just think it'll be more productive to do it that way.
Yeah, I couldn't vote for this.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I agree that refining these and bringing them back to the board with a subgroup of the board working on it would be helpful. I would like to get to our action items of what we as a board would like to do with these items, so that once this document is done, we have that action plan ready. It will help staff prepare for what's coming down the pike and what they need to be doing to prep us for that. And I think that it's a 2-prong approach. One is, going out to the membership, educating them on what positions, we're taking, and getting that feedback, potentially coming back and editing our positions based on that feedback. And then the second path is turning these positions into comp plan language as these, continue to, as these drafts continue to morph. And then the third is turning it into testimony, right, for when we go to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Supervisors with our positions. And Larry has done a great job in the past of prepping that testimony for us. So I would, recommend asking him again to take those positions and turn it into testimony for us. That would be my opinion.
So am I hearing you correct, Jennifer, in that your goal for right now is to have a motion of how we would move forward once this language is agreed upon by the board? Is that accurate?
Correct.
And do you have thoughts on where you would like to see that go?
So one is on the motion that I made in the last agenda item, which is there's a group that makes line edits. The second one is that we assign Larry to write testimony that the board would approve right before these meetings. And the third, and this might also be a subcommittee, depending upon how much interest there is at the board level, of determining how that public or member engagement is going to be done.
Okay.
Go ahead, Larry.
I would suggest, Jennifer, that just from a chronological standpoint, that those get reordered.
Yeah.
That the drafting the testimony would be last, because the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors hearings are later in the fall, and we'll want to, I think, accommodate or include some of the comments we hear from the community based upon what
Exactly.
in front of them.
Yes.
That's just a suggestion there.
Yeah, they were in no particular chronological order.
Okay.
We're all in this between now and the time the planning or the Board of Supervisors votes on this. But I'd like to see that the board is able to take action, and that we trust these subgroups to continue moving us forward. We can have the subgroups report back at meetings, but because it's a living, breathing, moving target, we need to be able to move it along in between board meetings if necessary.
So are we saying that we need to have a plan for membership outreach that we vote on tonight? And if so, does someone have a proposal as to membership outreach and how that would be done?
Lori, the whole exercise of why we went down the road of coming out with these bullet points, obviously not 2033, but having a smaller number, is if you want the membership to pay attention and get involved and engaged, they need to understand what we're talking about.
Of course.
And we need a time period when we can educate them on, hey, these are the issues that RA is advocating on your behalf. And here is why. So that was the path. And in order to do that, we had the meeting with Larry, John Mooney, Jennifer, DRB chairs, the committee chairs. We had, input from all of those, which if you remember the motion from the last board meeting, all of those parties involved to give their, hey, these are the important points for me. This is what is critical for me. Or here's what's important for my advisory committee. And that's where, so there's two paths, right? So there's one that, John and Jennifer are talking about with the redlining, with the document as it keeps moving. And the other is our position statements, which don't change, which our view on the golf course should remain our view on the golf course, regardless of what language change happens, right? Our resolution on land use in open areas and natural areas remains our resolution. It doesn't change because the document is changing. So the outreach piece with the membership was the one we were hoping to have these position points and to be able to move on that, put a communications plan in place, get that information out. So I don't think one needs to delay the other.
But I think we've seen that there's not a high level of satisfaction with the points as we've been presented just now on the screen sharing.
So then we
And
can
so
go.
how do we go?
Right. So I think we go through Larry's 33 points. We can quickly run down and vote yes, vote up, vote down. We have 20 minutes more on the agenda to do that. Because without doing that, then it becomes a very narrow point of a few individuals writing what it should be for all of us, right? There's some in that are action items that are not necessarily language to go into the comp plan. For example, I think Jennifer, one of yours was that we needed legal counsel on the language. And that's not a verbatim position of RA, but instead an action that RA needs to take. So we can quickly run down that list as a group if we want to, and vote up or vote down on those items. And that's where I think Erwin can give input and I can give input on why some of those were consolidated, how he came up with his 14.
But that's likely to end up with a product that is based on the structure of what we're given.
From Larry.
You know, if that's the way it's going to happen, then that's the way it's going to happen. But if I had more role in creating the document that we take to our members for outreach, this document that we've got, obviously the number of points needs to be pared down. And there needs to be more coherence to the way that they are presented, more parallelism in the grammar, so that it reads in a way that can be easily understood. And so, to me, I don't know that the ideas would come out in the same order that they're presented here. And if we go down point by point, we're going to get something that's presented in this sequence. So if the opportunity to have the level of input that I want is not available because of our time frame, then I understand that and I'll step back. But I still hope that we can come up with something that is a more coherent.
Yeah, we don't have to vote on it tonight. There's no urgency.
Well, and I guess I'm not hearing it the same way you are, Lori. My understanding is let's go through the 33 points that were originally presented by Larry and RA and everyone that was involved in that task force and say a yay or nay as to do we want to focus on that for the community outreach. That doesn't mean that that's exactly how it's going to go to the community. It's just we're going to focus on those pieces. Am I understanding that incorrectly?
No, you're right. That's right. And again, we would like to have some input from our communications team on how they want to put it and present it. So hopefully we'll send the list off to Mike Leone and Larry, and they will work on it and come back to us with, hey, this is.
So that doesn't negate, Lori, the fact that you want to make it more effective in the long run. It's just, here's what we're going to focus on.
I just don't have a good understanding of what the next step in the process is going to be so that we can move it forward on the timeline that's needed here.
So to break it down, so say tonight we go through the list of 33 and we come up with 20. Even if it's 20, it's happy because beyond that 15 number, you're losing interest with people. That's why, to Erwin, I was like 15, let's stick to that magic number 15. Once we have that, then the conversation is Larry and Mike Leone talk about how are they going to get this out to the membership, right? Was the style correct? Is the language correct? Is the grammar correct? Does it read according to like our RA standards? Are we prioritizing it according to how RA wants the priority? Order it. And then it still comes back to us. But we don't necessarily have to vote on it. If we have input, we can give it so we don't delay the process. We can keep it moving.
So your proposal is that we would take what we do tonight and send it directly to staff like Mark Leone and others in the communication staff with no further board or board committee input.
If we need, if all of us as the board are comfortable with it, then we can go ahead. But if we still want to continue, then we can absolutely keep working on it. Larry, I think you had a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, while there certainly is merit going through each one of these, presumably everybody's read them, and there's some of them are you can probably just strike out right away. I still think going back and, Irwin spent a lot of time on this, and I guess you did too this afternoon, Sarah. If there's a small group, let me just suggest John, Jennifer, me, Lori, if she's interested, in Irwin, which doesn't make quorum, that can get together early next week.
Yeah.
And spend an hour or two, taking the input that we've gotten here tonight. We've heard the concerns, rearranging it, piece of cake, whatever. I'll let the board members who are on that group decide which goes first or whatever. If you want to truly prioritize what goes out to the community, we think Parks and Rec is the most important, so that's first. Transportation is next, so that's second. Maybe there's value in that, because I fear that if we go through this, there's still going to be a rewrite that incorporates and doesn't incorporate certain aspects, and we may end up at the same place.
So Larry, my only hesitance with that is we're not getting input from other directors, because I think I would like to hear what Bob has to say on a lot of these. I'd like to hear how Margaret feels about a lot of the points. I'd like to hear what Mike Collins has to say, and Glenn, whereas John and Jennifer have had authorship in some of those points.
Yes, I was just making a suggestion.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. So I think the amount of time we've spent talking about how to handle it, we can quickly go through those and still have the small group work on it, but at least we'll hear from other directors where they stand on a lot of these points. How do we feel? Should we just rip the Band-Aid and get into it?
I can state that I have no problems with any of them. I've read the plan in its many iterations. I've been involved with it for the past 2.5 years tangentially. All these issues are addressed in one shape or form. Now, will it be in the format that people will like? Probably there will be conflicts. Because I know there are conflicts almost daily in how this between task force members and the staff. But I think all of these items that Larry has identified are laudable goals for the plan and should be addressed in some way in the plan. And I might suggest that once established, once we establish these, identify where they are addressed in the current version of the plan, which changes like every other day.
Yeah,
will be a challenge. But I think it'll be necessary because there is, as John Farrell has already identified, staff, meaning Fairfax County staff, has redlined this document many times already, and it's even redlined their own red lines. So it's.
But again, my understanding is it's two separate pieces, as Jennifer pointed out earlier. One is the red line for the language going into the comprehensive plan, and the other is the list of bullet points.
You're not going to be able to influence that. We are not going to be able to actually influence the document that way. I just want to forewarn you. It's not.
Yeah, we may change those. We may change our supervisor, but all we can do is try.
True.
We're not.
Absolutely, John.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess what I'm trying to understand is I thought the point of going through this, and hopefully we either do it now or we don't, is for the bullet points for us to speak on and us to have a stance on, which is similar but separate from language going into the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Which I agree with you, Bob. The county's going to do what the county's going to do, and hopefully they will listen to us. However, my understanding is what we're being asked right now is let's look at these 33 points so that we can determine as a group, here is our stance, period.
Thank you. Yes.
And my point was, and since I was asked to provide my views on them, I agree with the intent of each of the 33 points.
Perfect. Thank you, Bob. Larry, can you share a screen with your document with the 33 points? We can start. We've got about 10 minutes to quickly just go down the line.
Either Christine, unless Christina can beat me to it, I don't know if I actually have it pulled up. I have a hard copy in front of me.
I believe
There she goes.
See, she's the pro.
I
right
know. This is what we're gonna miss. We're
there.
gonna miss it.
Okay.
Yeah, so further down, I think to Larry's list where he just had it lined up.
Yeah, keep going.
Perfect. That's the one.
Right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
Yes.
the one. Perfect. Yeah. So EAC, we're comfortable with biophilic. We can go down. I can keep reading it as we can go down, yes or no. If somebody has an issue and a no, then we can stop and talk about it. So I think EAC, we all agree on all of those points there. I think it was just DRB had the same points. So Erwin, I think you combined those.
So there's a sequence of some of the points. I mean, is it possible for us to get copies so that I can print out and hold on to Erwin's 14 points so that I can, endorse some of the work that's done and make suggestions for others?
It's already emailed to you.
Oh, it is emailed. I'm sorry, I did not realize.
I just sent it, so don't even. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So any thoughts?
So I need a minute to pull that up.
But presently what we're looking at is
Larry's list.
Larry's points.
Also sent it from my personal email, just in case my BOD is not. So folks, others, any thoughts on the first 5 on the environmental piece?
No, I was reading through and I'm seeing where certain pieces are one that you had tried to combine. So first and foremost, thank you very much for your time and effort, as well as Jennifer and John and others previously. I know that it has been a long and tedious path.
Glenn and Mike, you've been awfully quiet through this. Any thoughts? Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I had to get off of mute and all those things. No, I don't think I do. I think this is actually going just fine the way we're working through it right now. Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Glenn, any thoughts? Did we lose Glenn? Okay, folks, do we want to keep going? Transportation, any questions? Again, transportation, I think. Yes, Bob. Bob, you're on mute.
If we keep it as is, we need to define what level of service is, LOS and TDM, the traffic demand management. It's for members. It is a technical term.
Right. So in Erwin, in your version, I think we didn't touch.
No, we left those out.
Yeah. So how do we want to address those 3, the John Mooney's 3? Because those are, as a member, it goes above their head.
In each of these, he supports the draft version or the draft chapter.
Oh, yeah.
Of the numbers 5, 6, and 7 of Larry's version. And then he provides, in some cases, an alternative And if you're endorsing the draft, I assume that the draft is the task force draft and not
Right.
not the other drafts that may have been presented subsequently. And so since those are those are the task force drafts, and they are somewhat technical, these are not the major points that we need to emphasize.
So if 5, 6, and 7 are all endorsing the current task force draft, I don't know if there's a way to come up with language that lumps all them together and says, that the plan is already on track in these areas.
Well, and
Because
I guess the question is, do we need to? I mean, if it's already on track, then do we even need to bother with?
Madam Chair, may I clarify a misunderstanding?
Yes, please.
So 6 is on track. I believe, well, I believe actually 1 through 6 are as on track as they can be, given the diversity of opinions on the task force itself. I am actually against the task force recommendation number 7. That is eliminating the level of service, especially level of service E in the TSAs, because basically what level of service does is it addresses the time and the space allotted for different transportation modes. So the transportation modes are pedestrians, bikes, transit, auto. And by allowing a higher level of congestion for cars, you are allowing more time and more space for pedestrians and bikes. Let me explain. Signals at intersections regulate how much time is given to pedestrians and vehicles. What you give to vehicles, you take away from pedestrians, unless you have overpasses or underpasses. You also affect, if you require less congestion for autos, which is what would happen if you get rid of LOSE, you're actually requiring bigger streets, more turn lanes for cars. Because if we do not allow the higher level LOSE congestion for autos, it defaults to a lower level of congestion, which means we have to give more time and more roadway to cars. So you're actually, if you oppose that, if you oppose the restoration of LOSE into the plan, you're actually removing time and space for pedestrian and bicycle travel. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Glenn? Lori, I think you had your hand up. Go ahead.
It strikes me that the level of specificity as far as LOS and other standards that you're very knowledgeable about, John, that goes into the language, it goes into the task force plan perhaps, but the language that would go into our document to resident association members and also what we want the overall task force to take in consideration would be, we want to give higher priority to pedestrians and bikes and lower priority to automobiles, if that's your suggestion. And so, there are ways to state what the goal is in terms of what the values are without getting specific as to how the signals would be adjusted.
Perhaps in your communication to the membership, but in your communication to the task force and to the supervisor, I think specificity is very critical.
Well, that's why we're coming up with 2 different documents, right?
Yeah, no, I understand. And I'm acknowledging that in my comment. Yeah. But when you're addressing the task force and the supervisor, you need to be specific on these.
Right.
Things. Like
what
you
that
need
means.
To be specific on the grid of streets. You need to be specific on the LOSE question. And I actually believe that what Reston Association Board decides will have two impacts on what the task force ultimately, or what the comprehensive plan ultimately is. First of all, I was properly admonished by my fellow board members when I was on the board that as the RA representative to the task force, I could not vote on positions on which the board itself had not taken positions, and I totally agree with that. But in other words, my vote has been I've had a non-vote. I've abstained on all these. You're permitting specific positions will allow me to vote in the final vote come August 22nd. Secondly, I do believe that what Reston Association judges to be best for Reston does have an impact on both the task force and on the supervisor. So I think your specificity in critical questions is very important.
Larry, sorry, does that help?
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. Larry, did you have your hand up at some point?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. So how do we feel about those 3 points, the 5, 6, 7? Yes, John. You're on mute.
If we're trying to communicate to the membership, having done a fair amount of political work here over the last 55 years, I'm reminded of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And I think that items 5, 6, and 7 have a very high MEGO factor, meaning my eyes glaze over. I don't think that John's wrong on these points. I just think that trying to get my neighbors here on Under Oak Court all excited about that issue is not going to happen. So if we're trying to communicate to the general membership, I'm happy to have these points included in the RA markup, but I just think it's way too much detail for the membership. And I think we need to let it go unless we can state it in 6 words.
Right. I mean, it's my understanding from what John Mooney just said is that number 7 would be the only one he is concerned with that we're not on task. And therefore, maybe that is the one to address. And there is a way we can express that language in a way that your eyes don't glaze over, right? You know, we want to make sure that pedestrians and bicyclists have safe means of getting through and around Reston. And that includes making sure that there is some equity in how traffic is approached for both vehicles and non-vehicles.
If I may suggest something, if you would read what I had suggested for transportation planning and development, these were all items that were to be taken into account. So the first one was safety. The second is equity for all parties. The third is people-oriented metrics must be given equal importance to vehicle-oriented metrics. And the last one is pedestrian and bicycle transportation must be given significant capital commitment. And all of those convey the essentials of what you want in transportation from Reston's point of view, I believe. And it takes into
don't
account
disagree. I
So
don't
that's for the-
disagree, Erwin.
And
I think we can narrow it down into 1 or 2 sentences and still include it and make it available to the public.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
The references to equity, both as it's stated in the longer document and in Erwin's document, I don't know where to go with that. Obviously, equity is important, but how does that translate into a transportation recommendation? So to me, it's a comment that leaves me wondering how to apply it.
Well, it carries forward the comment that was already originally in the document that Larry prepared, which said equity is underlined.
Right.
And I didn't understand that there either.
Sure. I can explain a little bit as the liaison there. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It was more, if you go back and read it, it was more about, well, one angle they made on equity, sorry, excuse me, is that the somehow the plan failed to account for the difference between patterns by single-family homeowners, apartment dwellers, younger people, that kind of thing. That's the equity that I remember them citing. And there may have been some other examples, but I think it stemmed from that kind of thing, more of a technical thing than the broader concept of equity. I'm sure they weren't excluding that. I don't want to speak for them. It's up there in the text.
Does that answer your question, Lori?
I mean, it's an important part of answering the question, but I still don't know, what recommendation goes with that equity point. How, I mean, obviously people would all say, oh, we want equity.
I'm sorry, Laura, that I don't remember.
I do.
Okay.
If I may.
Okay.
Go ahead, Erwin.
It was particularly directed at renters who are apparently not considered when transportation does certain surveys and so forth. So they don't look at what the interests of renters are. And the idea was that renters and young people who are going to be more likely to be renters than homeowners should be considered in these determinations and in consultations.
So let's say it that way.
I'm sorry?
I think let's say it that way. That seems to be more clear, that we consider not only homeowners, but also renters. I mean, that's one of the ways rest and association differs from lots of other community groups, is that we do include renters. And so to me, that would be a strong point to make, instead of the vague reference towards equity, which I don't know what it meant.
I don't know whether there were other issues that were equitable issues as well. I wasn't involved in the details of the
Exactly, yeah.
So we can
maybe Mike can throw more light on that.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we're at almost 9 o'clock. Are we okay with, do we have any questions on the treasurer's report and capital projects? Are we okay on delaying those and continuing this conversation, or how do we want to proceed? I think this is the first time we've had everybody give input, and this is really great to see other board members actually be a part of this, own this document, and give input. So I think it's valuable to have that conversation, but I'll leave it up to the board. We're still closing at 9:30, so.
Madam President, I had sent out an email to my fellow board members that I wanted to kick over the capital budget presentation to the next meeting anyway. So I'm more than happy to have that happen.
Are we all okay with that? Are we good with that move?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Bob, Bob's treasurer's report, I think we've all seen the video, which was fantastic that he continues to make videos for me. Thank you so much. Any questions for Bob on his treasurer's report, or are we okay with? Yes, Jennifer, go ahead.
Would anyone be opposed to not bumping it to the next regular board meeting, but to bringing it to the August budget work session?
Which, the treasurer's report?
No, the capital.
Yeah, I think we can. I don't think
I'm
anybody
fine
has.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The 17th. Treasurer's report, any questions for Bob on the treasurer's report? Nope. If not, thanks, Bob. Thanks again for, keeping it simple and helping us folks understand, those who are not finance experts. Thank you. Bob, you had something to share? Go.
No, I was happy to cruise.
Acknowledged. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So we have half an hour to keep doing this. Oh, my screen went away. Christina, can you put the screen back up, please? Okay, moving on. So Erwin and Lori, you kind of have that language narrowed down to how you want it for the equity piece. Are we comfortable with that, folks? Everyone's happy with it?
You want a specific reference to renters, or do you want something else?
The renters included, I think, so that it makes equity a real living, achievable goal.
Okay, I'll put something in there.
That sounds good.
And we're all okay with the 5 to 7, maybe just trying to get 7 in more simple language. Margaret, that was your thoughts, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. And Erwin, you can work with Mike on that since he's board liaison to MTAC, and with John Mooney to see how we can simplify it so a member can understand.
Well, I'm willing to accept whatever suggestions they may have and to try to integrate them so that we get something that can be succinct and direct.
More than succinct, it has to be,
Understandable.
like Farrell said, keep it simple. Yes. So that.
Yes.
Well, if they can make it simpler, that's fine.
Perfect. Okay, Parks and Rec. Here we go. I think what Erwin, you did was you combined 1 and 4. Was that, am I right to say that?
Yes.
Yeah, and let me say,
2, and a little bit of 2.
Yeah, I see a little bit of 2 in there.
Yep.
Yeah,
if I might,
sure.
Parks and Rec only recommended items 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And that's what Parks and Rec recommended. 4 and 5 are not part of the Park and Rec. I think Larry came up with those. I think they are verbose, and we don't need them. Our points are that the Park and Rec chapter basically ignores Reston. All it talks about is the Park Authority, and the Park Authority in Reston is a ghost. It has 20 acres.
Okay.
And so the points we're trying to make are that RA is the overwhelmingly dominant provider of parks, recreation, and open space. That's point 1. Point 2, everybody who lives in Reston should be contributing to the maintenance of those extensive facilities. That's point number 2. Point number 3 is, yeah, we've got our facilities are aging, and sources of funds to upgrade those funds. I'm looking at the capital budget report. We're talking in the next 5 years, spending $10 million.
So John, have you seen Erwin's version of that?
Yeah, I saw Erwin's version, and it doesn't
Okay,
work. It ignores those 3 points.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
Okay.
you'll forgive me. I
Okay,
disagree.
before the 2 attorneys get into it, John, I know you wrote this, so the only feedback I have on it is I have a big issue with number 3 being in the comprehensive plan, but let's hear from other directors.
Well,
and then
if you want to say that they're aging, but they are aging, and we need to figure out a way to fund renewal. And so, and the whole point of this is in the comprehensive plan to provide a justification for Reston Association to be getting some of the recreational profit money. And the second point is already in the comprehensive plan. It already says that in the prior draft that all residential units should either join RA or join RTC. So I'm again trying to make simple declarative sentences that say this is what RA needs, and this is our main
can I
line of
hear
work.
from? I know you're very passionate because you wrote these. Let's
Well,
hear from.
it's not about passion. It's about an analysis of what's essential to RA's mission.
Jennifer, go ahead.
John, I think for number 3, we don't have to state aging over 50 years. We just have to say RA requires funding sources to refurbish them, if you want to make it shorter and agreeable to the board.
That's fine.
Also, number 4 and 5 were submitted by me. And number 4 is an actual position that a previous board took on the comp plan. So that is why it's probably verbose. It was in a written document that was sent to whoever the supervisor was at the time. And so that's where I got it from. And I feel strongly about the last piece of that is that we needed added capacity of these amenities to come through developer contributions.
So if you wanted to have item number 4 simply be that last sentence, Jennifer, I think that works.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
So to the others, how do we feel about number 3? Bob, Mike, Margaret, any thoughts on number 3? Yes, Bob?
Take out 50 years, so just as John and Jennifer said, everything gets older day by day. And really what we're looking for, the point is we require funding.
I agree with that.
And then on the other two, I think Jennifer makes a very good point. Added capacity should be achieved through development contributions. Great. The 5th one, I will tell you, is already in the draft of Parks and Recs of the plan. And yeah, it could be reworded, but I think the idea is collaboration is a fact of life.
Right.
Well, and it's interesting because I think number 5 actually is referring back to John, your point of that, RA should have some funding from these proffers. And I think number 5 assists in nailing that home. So I agree it could be reworded, but the reality is it's not far from what you're looking for. It's just in addition to.
If I may point out something with regard to number 5, it works both ways. And how much influence and involvement do you want in Reston's choices from other people? Because there's no distinction here between one way or the other.
Right. And if it's already in there, do we need to repeat it? Was the other part is, yes, Jennifer, go ahead.
That's the problem. It is no longer in the chapter.
It was in
The current chapter basically says that FCPA is going to decide on all of the facilities that are needed in Reston. And in order for us to have any say or potentially even get any money for these facilities, we better darn well have an equal seat at that table. That does not imply, Erwin, that anyone gets to come to us and say, well, you need to go do this. It gives us an equal seat at the table when these development applications are coming through, that when that money gets to Reston, that we get an equal say in where it's spent, what it should be spent on next. And without that, I don't think we have a whole lot of hope of
Jennifer,
getting money.
can I ask a question, Madam President? Jennifer, in the draft that you sent out, the most recent draft that you sent out, that sentence is almost there word for word. Did it get taken out after you sent out the most recent draft?
Yes, it's been removed. And in addition to that, it says that everything's going to go through FCPA's master planning process. And I'm not really sure we want all facilities in Reston to be decided on FCPA's master planning process.
Then I agree with you. If that sentence is in the current draft, it needs to be in the current, it needs to be a point that we make. So
agreed.
If we can shorten number 4 just to be the last sentence, I'm fine with that.
I like Erwin the way you combined it, but if there's a way,
If
I still feel strongly about the telling our facilities are old, because some of them are brand new, but I agree we need money, and we've made that clear that we need money from, development contributions and new RA members. We've made that clear, but I really don't like saying that our facilities are old.
We're agreeing with you, ma'am. We've agreed to take out or over 50 years old. What we're saying is many RA facilities require funding sources to refurbish and renew them. That would be the sentence.
That is already, if I may, that is contained in the draft that I gave, in which it says, and it's part of it's number 4, and it basically says, look, we do all of this. And we do maintenance, and we do repairs, and we do replacement of these capital facilities through the annual and capital budgets. And as Reston's population increases, added capacity should be achieved through development contributions and RA membership. It's quite clear that we want money.
Laurie, you had your hand up. Go ahead,
No,
Laurie.
I liked the the way it was stated before that Resident Association requires funding both to keep our existing facilities in good operating condition, or word it better than I just said it, and also to add capacity. So if there's a way to combine, we need money both to keep doing what we've been doing and to do more as our population increases. I would favor that as a simplified way to present both points together.
That's
Well,
my
Lori,
draft number
I
2.
thought that item 4, if we look at the
John, I
last
think
sentence,
Erwin was,
captures that thought. Erwin, I just can't support your draft. I just,
Yeah.
it's unreadable. It's just
John?
unreadable.
John, that's fine.
I don't
We're
think it's
just going
relatable.
through
It
it
takes a lot
item
of
at
the
item.
language.
Let's not, both the attorneys, let's not get into a fight. Calm down. We're going through item by item. All right. So we're combining a combination between 3 and 4, where we're taking out the 50 years old and we're adding the capacity piece. Are we good with that?
Yes.
Fantastic. Moving on. We want to keep number 5.
Sure.
Yes?
Yes, if it's been taken out.
Perfect. Okay. The 1 and 2 in Irwin's, you combined all of them. So now I guess we're combining 1, 2, 3, and 4 into a more succinct bullet form.
But not tracking the same words used in Irwin's draft.
Correct. No. But we're keeping 5 as is. We're good with 5 as is.
And is this specifically, again, you guys seem to be working on both renditions of the language at the same
Right.
time. So I'm trying to track, is this our stance to our members?
Right. Stance to our
versus-
members.
And that's the difference. That's
it.
what we're
Yeah.
looking at. Because
Exactly.
I think if we're looking at stance to members, number 5 is great, but we need to make it more succinct in our presentation to
Right.
the members.
And my concern with Irwin's draft is that by piling all these thoughts into one paragraph, people are
weaken.
going to understand them.
Mhm.
By breaking them up into separate thoughts with simple declarative sentences, the message gets across more clearly. That's why I think that the changes we've made to the drafts that Larry sent around will be much more effective, which is why I can't support Irwin's changes.
John, you've said that multiple.
We got it, John. You don't like Irwin's draft.
Yes.
Nope. Everyone is, we understand
We
completely.
heard that.
There is no doubt on that one.
Thank you.
Even though it's your language largely, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay, Erwin. We'll work on it. That's fine. Are we good with what we've discussed so far? Are we happy to move on to DRBs? Because we have about 18 minutes left. Okay. The stormwater management part, the first one, I think because it was in EACs, Erwin combined those two and made it one. And also DRB, I think there wasn't a chapter as DRB, so we moved these into wherever they would apply, like land use and EAC, and those were the changes. Otherwise, all the content of it is still there. It's just moved in different parts. Is there content-wise, do we have any issues with any of these 4 points that we feel like they shouldn't be there, we should take them out, or we need to simplify them? Yes, Lori.
Just a quick simplification. I think we can simplify by leaving out the thing about male species to prevent overpollinating our area. If we just encourage a different tree species, that's sufficient at this level for the members.
And Erwin, you already had that tweet.
That was why I wanted to do that. You didn't want to leave it out.
Oh, the language. Don't take up.
They brought it up. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm curious, and I'm not looking for argument, just asking encouragement of different but native tree species.
Different native tree
That's
species.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. No, that
Okay.
works. That's perfect. Yeah.
I wanted to add also that will survive climate change.
Well, I think if you go, well,
Not all native trees.
we're
are
all
going
gonna burn in the next few years, Erwin, so please. But
No, you have changes now that are occurring, which are affecting
Native and resilient tree species.
native
Perfect.
trees, which are dying, oaks in particular, because
So,
of invasion.
So if we go with
native and
different
resilient.
native and resilient, does that
That's
affect
fine.
the
we good
language
with
you're
that?
looking for?
Yeah.
I think that's perfect. That's good. Okay. Another big one, land use and infrastructure.
Can whoever's sharing scroll up a little bit?
Yeah, Christina, there we go. Thank you, Christina. There were multiple
Thank you.
references to village centers, so I think, Erwin, we simplified it because as a member, I think we'll have to spend a lot of time explaining these, but again, happy to, if we feel strongly about any of these points, happy to go in.
I like words rather than acronyms. Is that your point?
So Erwin, what did you have? Like the first three, I think were all about village centers.
Yeah, we shortened it substantially, and we didn't use acronyms. We said, basically, we said Reston Village Centers, with the exception of Lake Ann, are planned to reflect the land uses that currently exist, and they play a vital role for the Reston community and RA members in particular.
So what does the second sentence add?
They play a vital role for Reston community
That's
and
point number two. That's point number two. One and
Yeah.
two combined.
combined.
They may be 1 and 2 combined. I still don't think the second sentence adds much content. You know,
We can take
a
it out.
shorter document is a better document.
Sure, absolutely. I'm with you on that.
Fine.
So are we all comfortable taking out the part that they play a vital role, Reston community and RA members in particular? Anybody feel strongly about keeping that?
I think they do play a role, and it is something that still exists. They are places where people meet, where they go to have interaction with others.
I'm not disagreeing with the content of the statement. I'm disagreeing that it needs to be in this document.
The
it gives-
document
It gives a
given to
robustness to the reason
Members.
for it being maintained.
right, but that's the I guess the point here is does it bring benefit when speaking to the members,
Yes.
which is separate than the task force.
Well, so they are planned to reflect the land uses that currently exist and should be maintained, or should be preserved, or should continue. Make it a few words and be done.
This goes beyond land use. This goes to what role they play a role in the community. It's not merely, well, we're going to put buildings.
Yes, but if you say that they should continue to play that role, I don't see what the extra words bring.
Okay, folks, it's like 5 words though. And we can come back to this, or if there's a way we can shorten it, we can think about it and come back.
Yeah.
Are we eliminating item number 2?
We've combined 1 and 2 into 1. So that's the discussion with Lori where she says we don't need the vital role.
And don't need being as a point for the membership.
Correct. Membership.
Separate
not-
from the task
The rest of
force.
community.
Yeah,
We
thank
really
you,
need to focus on what our point here is. Our point here is narrowing this down for the membership.
Membership. Correct. The membership. To read it.
So the point number 2 goes to the fact that our village centers were supposed to have community gathering spaces. And unfortunately, they weren't developed with those. And that's what I think the folks who drafted point number 2 were trying to get at. And if you eliminate that,
Well, they haven't gotten there then. Community gathering spaces is a great idea. It's not in what I read.
well, point number 2, the village centers may not have been developed exactly as desired by Bob Simon. That's the point they're trying to make. Now, maybe there's another way to write that, but our village centers are missing community gathering spaces.
Then let's say that.
Right.
So you're replacing the whole thing, the vital role for community with the community gathering spaces. Erwin, you're okay with that?
I would combine it with vital role.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't eliminate vital role.
Well, we need fewer words.
This is pretty reduced.
No,
No.
You want 3 words? Take it away. Go ahead. Village centers. Western village centers, 3 words.
no, that include community gathering spaces.
And when
I-
honing
I-
that to the membership, what is the point? I guess that's what I would like to understand. When you're honing to the membership that the village centers do not have community gathering spaces, what is your point to the membership? Just
Well,
to
I'm in
inform
North
them what
Point.
they don't have? That's what I'm asking.
That any redevelopment should incorporate community gathering spaces that aren't
Okay.
there now.
So that's a valid point, but to simply say that the Reston Village Centers are vital and don't include it, it does not get across what you just said, John.
You're right.
And I agree with what you just said.
You're right. So that should be rewritten to capture that thought.
Yep.
If redeveloped should include community gathering spaces.
Either
Yeah,
redevelopment or new development, as unfortunately the case may
All
be.
the village centers exist, so we're talking about redevelopment of village
yeah.
centers.
Hopefully.
To me, that conveys a very specific idea that I missed in the original wording.
Right. And I'm fine as long as there's an actual point to the statement, which I think John just made, and
Yeah, I
would
agree. Yep.
Okay, moving on. Got a few minutes left.
I don't understand item number 3 or 4.
3 is mine. 3 is mine, and it is because there's not any clarity in the plan as to what that population count should be. And if we do not have enough clarity, then we could be in a situation where the PRC ordinance gets back to the big battle of 2017 when it was threatened. And so I think that RA should demand that whatever this plan is planning for, that the estimated population is clear. You know, the expected result of this plan is clear to the citizens of Reston. Are we planning for 100,000 people? Are we planning for 80? Are we planning for 150? What are we planning for?
So it's not really accurate population counts that you're concerned about. It's more
Projections.
specific population projections.
Population projections, yes.
Yes.
Right.
So let's not use counts. I'm totally fine with using projections. The second point in the current comp plan is that they're assuming that whatever development is going to be approved, there's going to be a 20% haircut, meaning that we're going to approve, 100 dwelling units on a site, but the builder is only going to build 80 of those.
Again,
And
what are we trying to
the
say to
clarity, that those concepts need to be clearly communicated to the Reston population.
I think that's a real potential problem, but I don't think it's one we can head off by putting language in this plan. I think we're going to have to just, as it comes up, insist for accurate figures, insist on accurate projections. Just my 2 cents.
Can you tell me whether what I proposed meets a lot of your concerns? The comprehensive plan should require that development and infrastructure capacity are developed simultaneously and be based on accurate population projections.
I really like that.
Are we good with that?
No.
No, it doesn't.
What is
I
missing?
like that, Erwin. I have no problem with that one, but this one really speaks to what is the Board of Supervisors planning for?
But Jennifer, your end reader here is the membership. So what do you want the membership to get from that? What do you want them to ask, or what do you want them to understand from that statement?
Right. The conversation
what we're
currently is the
planning for.
membership, not
Mhm.
No, not in the, no, it's not. My point is that the citizens of Ruston deserve to know what the plan is planning for when it comes to population, the future population of Ruston.
So it needs to be based on accurate population projections, as Erwin said.
Okay, so we're good with Irwin's on that?
I can bring it up again, but Erwin, yours sounded more like as development comes in, then facilities should come with it, which I completely agree with. But mine is, if the Ruston citizens don't want 200,000 people in Ruston, then we better tell them during the planning process that we're planning for 200,000 people so that they can speak up.
So I would just, the only thing I would change in Irwin's to emphasize it is they should be developed simultaneously and must be based on accurate population projections, because I think that helps draw attention to the accuracy issue, which has been a problem.
It says at the beginning, should require.
And must be based, I'm saying, as a way to bring emphasis.
Okay.
Okay. Folks, we've got like 5 minutes. Moving on.
Then I would motion to extend the meeting till 10 o'clock.
Second.
All those in favor? One, two, three, four, 5 in favor. Motion passes. Okay. This is not going to be practice going forward. I'm just letting you know. There are other directors here who want to be home at 9:30 and want to be done. So let's try our level best to stick to that, please. Okay. Moving on. Next item. How do we feel?
Is this number 5 we're on?
4.
We're on number 4, which is also mine, and could certainly make it shorter. But this is the tracking mechanism, Lori, that you were speaking to. So this is post-implementation that incoming development should be tracked and communicated to the membership or to the citizens of Ruston.
And is this something that the members need to have and nailed, hammered in when we're speaking to them currently?
We could collapse it if you really want it. We could say at the end of 2, as it currently stands, you could say accurate population projections regularly updated.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think you mean number 3.
Just accurate and current population projections.
Got it. Okay. And item 5 to me is more an action item than actually going out to the membership.
Yes, it could be a motion of the board. I have been talking behind the scenes about a legal review, and I could probably be convinced out of this one. I understand that the previous boards had legal review, so I would also defer to staff's comments if that would be helpful from their perspective, even going forward.
Okay, so that's out from here. 6 is kind of what, Erwin, you already stated, where you combined it with, was it 3?
Right, with number 5 below on general.
Well, I like Erwin's number 3.
Yeah. So 6 and 7 almost come into that, right? Do we want to add anything else from 7 into Irwin's, or are we happy with what we've got?
Well, I think we specifically limited Irwin's combination to population, and the number 7 speaks to other pieces of development, not just population. So maybe,
He has
Or what?
infrastructure in his,
okay, cool.
right?
Well, in number 2, development and infrastructure capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
As long as that's included.
Okay. Alrighty, moving on to general and other.
Can I just ask on Irwin's number 4, reaffirm RA land use resolutions? What is specifically in mind for that?
So I think she had reaffirmed land use resolutions 4, 5, and 6.
Under other, she had, under general and other.
Oh,
she-
gotcha.
that was number
Okay, I see
5.
it. I see it.
Yeah. And that
Thank
has
Thank you.
the
Thank
open
you.
areas, natural, golf course. If we're affirming, why not affirm all of them?
So assume we say land use resolutions related to open space, instead of giving the numbers, but give it the topics of.
I think we can just say land use resolutions, all of our land use resolutions, right? They apply. Yeah. And that's one of those where we can have a link where they can click to read what our land use resolutions are.
But I
Does
do,
that-
I do agree that it needs to be more clear than just the numbers, because the reality is the majority of people will not know what 4, 5, and 6 are. And so at a minimum, I agree, Sarah, you need to have a link so that people can look at them should they desire to learn more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
So Erwin, can you just for my sake in brackets put in hyperlink? I'll remember what we talked about there. Thank you. Okay, coming back to number 1 on the general and other. Any thoughts? How do we feel about it?
So where did this general other section come from?
From
mean, I
all
can-
the input that Larry got from everyone, Larry, I don't want to.
This is Larry's.
Yeah, he just helped consolidate it and put it under different topics. Go for
Gotcha.
it.
I think this one actually came from Jennifer.
So it's not from one of the advisory committees, but it's just kind of overflow from the other topics. Is that fair?
Correct. Yeah, this is an aggregation of everything that I received.
Mhm.
This one highlights Ruston Association specifically as something that brings balance and positivity and new, happy, residents to the community. And
So-
we certainly do contribute to the economic development of the community.
So is that something, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know that that's necessarily a member-driven point that's needed at this time, but perhaps I'm incorrect in how I'm understanding that.
Yeah, and Margaret, when I was writing that, I was trying to make sure that we covered each of the chapters, and if RA were to say something, what would we say about that chapter? So I don't feel
Okay.
passionately about this one, but that's
Okay.
what I felt covered the economic development chapter from an RA perspective.
And that's good for me. So this was based on the economic. Okay, perfect. I mean, good for me to know. I think when we're narrowing these down, it's good to kind of have that in the back of your mind, but maybe it doesn't need to be that nail in the coffin.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so number 2 then, is that where we're at?
So we're okay with number 1 not being in this document, but being in the one where we advocate for the red line. Yes.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, second. How do we feel about number 2? To me, it's the same as 1, but
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same as one.
Okay. And the all new development should contribute. That is number 1. We've all talked about, heard about it everywhere. So Erwin, I thought we had it.
That's already included.
Somewhere else.
It's already incorporated.
I feel that was under the PRAC information.
Yeah.
Am I
Agreed.
incorrect?
Yes.
Okay,
Agreed.
perfect.
Yep. Missing middle is the affordable housing piece. I think, Jennifer, that's where you got that from.
Correct.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yes, there's this concept that Ruston in general needs missing middle housing, and we need to build to get the missing middle. And I think that there needs to be some recognition, or wrote some recognitions into the affordable housing chapter to make sure that people recognize that it's actually Reston Association member housing. That's always been our missing middle housing. We believe in a diverse mix of housing types, housing, levels. Missing middle is a very coined term, and so I would be fine editing it as long as we leave missing middle in there because it's a coined word in the press.
I don't think all of RA housing is missing middle with
It certainly is
and
not.
it's definitely not. No, if we can reword it somehow,
So maybe we say Reston RA member housing includes the missing middle housing?
I don't,
May I suggest that we take a look at what I suggested as equity, and that attempts to address these major concerns.
want to read that out for us?
Yeah,
Ellen?
because
Sure.
I don't have it up.
Equity demands that basic human needs be met for all Restonians. These needs include adequate housing for all, access to health care, including mental health care, opportunities for education and employment at a living wage, and the fulfillment of Reston's 7 basic founding principles.
That's so long.
that's motherhood and apple pie, and it doesn't direct you to any particular issue. I like the idea of mentioning affordable housing or the missing middle in housing. I don't think that the phrase RA member housing adds to that concept.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand. So are we saying that we don't have enough missing middle, or that RA does have that missing middle? Because the reality is we do offer a lot of that housing. It's whether or not people, like, for example, I know some young teachers who recently in the last 2 years bought in Shadowwood because that was affordable housing. It's a 3-bedroom condo, very nice. But the question is Shadowwood, as we know, often is not looked upon as favorable at times, whereas I think that is a incorrect assessment of the neighborhood.
Can we get a little background? Can I offer a little background here? The major justification for the jamming of density into the TSA and potentially eliminating our village centers has been advocacy for affordable or missing middle housing. And we have more.
Right.
We have more housing in the 11 square miles of Reston for folks who are below 60% of AMI than any other 11 square miles in the county. And the issue is, do we really need to open up the TSA on the justification that somehow building 40-story high-rises are going to get us affordable housing? That's been the story. I think what's written here is saying we need to be talking about preservation, and don't try and shoot us through the grease that building these high rises is going to address the missing middle problem.
So maybe we make it.
I think that's what Jennifer's trying to get to.
But what you get from the statement is basically saying RA member housing is that missing middle, so we don't need any. Or it's that.
Yeah, and that's not what I was trying to convey.
Yeah,
that's not right.
And not all maybe of RA member housing is missing middle. I guarantee you, a lot of RA member housing is, doesn't necessarily fall in the affordable housing.
Maybe it's preserve and protect
existing
clusters.
Well, I'd say existing affordable housing opportunity.
It's more than affordable housing.
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, except that a lot of those things that have been.
Sorry, 1 second. I think Bob had his hand up. Give me 1 second. Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Of course.
This is an issue that is near and dear to Walter's heart. And I think, rewording is appropriate, but I agree with John's point that we have Reston has the greatest preponderance of affordable housing in the county of all types, and it should be preserved. And Walter's concern was when neighborhoods come up for redevelopment, and they will not be redeveloped as affordable. They'll be $1 million houses, or townhouses will be put on these places. That's just the nature of development. I'm going to go where I can make the most money.
I think this needs rewording, Jennifer, but I think you've got the idea.
Exactly.
I can work to reword it. I just want to make sure that the concept affordable housing has very specific definitions, and this was also written to preserve and protect, our clusters, our townhouses. We
One
were
step
very
up.
inclusive when we made Reston to have different types and levels of housing, and that's an important component.
Yeah,
And I completely agree. Is this a piece that we want to make sure goes to the members, or just the task force, or both?
Well, I think we need to go to the members. I'm not hung up on the words affordable housing, Jennifer. What I was just trying to get to is we already have this kind of housing here in Reston. It needs to be preserved.
But a lot of it was designated affordable for a set period of time, which is coming up on expiration. So preserving the affordable housing we have is an important concept.
Can we just
we can
go with that?
include that, and I'll be happy to rewrite it. But basically, do you want your cluster overtaken by high rises because they built in the TSA and now they're ready to come across the street? That's not what we want, right? So we're trying to preserve and protect our inclusive neighborhoods.
Right. And I think, I personally, the developers are not coming in looking to assist the middle class. They're coming in to make sure they get all the money they possibly can, however that looks, let's be honest.
Right. So are we good with just saying preserve and protect the existing affordable housing? Existing RA member affordable housing?
Well, I think I agree a little bit with Jennifer. You have to be careful with that affordable housing, because that, of course, looks very different for different people. So maybe sticking with this missing middle is potentially.
Or why not put both affordable and missing middle housing? Is that?
Yeah, I'd like to have affordable in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure it's extended a little bit farther than that.
Okay, so Erwin,
What's
so
wrong
Jennifer,
with adequate housing?
yeah. So Jennifer and Erwin will work on that last item. So are we good? Erwin, did you say something? I can't see you.
I said, yeah, what's wrong with adequate housing?
There are terms of art and buzzwords that we need to include. I wanted to get the Park and Rec section listed first. Does anybody object to that?
No.
No.
Before the environment?
It works.
Before everything.
Yes.
Yes,
Do it.
Jennifer.
Sure.
If you indulge me, I would like to take a straw poll on a few different things, and then I would like to do a set of motions that moves us forward past these board positions, so that we have, board members that might want to work on the member outreach piece of this with staff. We have board members that might want to write the details of this. We certainly have testimony that we might want to do in the future. And so I'd like to get some motions in the books if we're okay to move those things forward. So could I take a straw poll on, are there board members that would be interested in helping to develop a member outreach plan with staff?
I've been working with Mike and Larry So if anybody else who wants to join, I'm happy to include Margaret.
I would be willing to assist
Right.
with that.
Okay.
Okay. And then anyone want to work on the detailed writing piece?
We've got John Farrell, Laurie,
John,
Bob,
Laurie,
Bob.
Bob.
Was Erwin in on that or not?
Detailed writing piece of what?
So the writing piece going to the task force.
To the
Well,
Not-
actually, it's going to go to the planning commission. But we're talking about, Jennifer, you're talking about the red line effectively?
The red line of the comp plan between now and the time it gets approved by the
So
Board of Supervisors.
take me out of that one.
Okay.
Sorry, take me out of that one.
Lori, you wanted to be part of the language going to the
For
members.
the members.
Is that
I
accurate?
did. Yes.
And Erwin, that's
Erwin's-
effectively also what you were working on
Right.
today.
Yeah.
So we have Erwin for that one, Laurie,
If he's willing, poor man.
right, to continue. So we have Erwin and Laurie on that one.
And
anyone
John.
Erwin,
else?
Laurie,
John?
Margaret, myself.
Margaret,
What?
Wait.
no?
Now, when we go over 4, we subject ourselves to open meeting rules, right?
There's only
Right.
4 of us, so it's Erwin, Laurie, Margaret, and me for the members, the communication, the outreach, that piece. And then the
For
writing.
the language, for the position language,
Yeah.
continuing to, right.
Continue
And
to
then for
work on
member
that.
outreach plan, I have Margaret and Sarah.
I would keep the both same because that's the same group that's going to put the plan together and work on.
Okay, then we can do one motion then for that one.
Yeah.
And then anyone want to work
Laurie, do you have
on,
any objections to having input
No.
on the plan as well?
No, that's fine.
and then the testimony piece?
So hold on, the other one, the redlining, you had Farrell, Bob.
I have John, Bob, and Jennifer, and Lori took herself off.
Okay.
I think the testimony needs to be done at a later point, like after we see how things
Yeah.
go now.
Yeah, yes, I agree. It needs to be written.
gonna
I
have
was
a-
hoping to just get the motion out of the way that says, staff will draft it at the appropriate time
I mean, I'm happy.
now, but I can wait if you guys want to do it.
Okay, folks, I'm not extending past 10 o'clock, so we've
Right.
got 13 minutes. Let's wrap this up. My promise to my fellow directors was 9:30. I've already indulged us in this.
Okay.
So let's go.
Okay, so move to direct Larry to work with Erwin, Lori, Margaret, and Sarah on developing final language on the
To
develop
present to
finally,
members.
right, to
Outreach
develop
to members.
finally language, to do and to do outreach to members on RA's approved positions
Final language
until,
on positions and advocacy points. Can you add that? So we're the same.
okay. Move to
Until-
direct Larry to work with Erwin, Lori, Margaret, Sarah on developing member advocacy points and a member outreach plan until the plan is executed.
You don't need to add that phrase.
Yeah.
Well, Tony likes an end date to these things, so I'm attempting to create an end date, unless you want to say September or whatever.
No, an
I
end
would
date to
just
this
leave it.
meeting is my
Yeah,
concern.
leave it open. I would just,
Yeah.
leave it open.
Okay,
It may need to be adjusted and all sorts of things. And you're
So
not
let's
going
just
to
leave
have
it
a
open.
final thing. It's going to evolve over time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, let's just leave it open.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll second
everyone
that motion.
understand?
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Glenn and John. So John, you're voting no.
I'm abstaining.
And abstaining.
Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah,
No, I'm voting yes.
Yeah. Glenn and Mike.
I'm gonna
Are you
vote no, actually. I'm gonna vote no. This is Mike. I'm voting no.
Okay.
Did we get all the votes?
Yes, except Glenn. I'm going to treat that as an abstain. So we've got it. Motion passes.
Okay. Can I do a second motion, please?
Sure.
Move to direct Larry to work with John, Bob, and Jennifer to provide continuous red line edits to the draft comprehensive plan supporting approved RA positions until the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors adopts a new Ruston comprehensive plan.
Could we include the current representative in this? How do we feel about that on the task force? John Mooney or no?
Oh,
I think we're allowed to do that without
Do you want to add
hurting
that?
anything. I can, well, I haven't had anyone second it, but I would accept
I'll
that,
second.
that change.
With that change, I'll second it.
When you say continuous, what?
Continuous
Yeah,
could
what-
be, we do it, once a month. We don't know how often a draft is going to come
Right.
out.
That's my
So-
only concern is that as you well know, these chapters have changed almost daily, particularly in the last 2 months.
I think the current plan is we keep going until January and don't know how many edits that will be. Sorry, I wish it did.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so you know what you're committing us to.
We
All
can
in
always come back and undo a motion if we want.
All
Well,
in
and you
favor?
don't,
Oh, go ahead, Margaret.
well, I was just gonna say, you don't have to redline each and every reiteration if it's,
Yeah, but
do
that
every
was the
third
motion.
reiteration.
Okay. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. John, are you voting on this or no?
Abstaining.
Okay.
Sarah,
Mike?
I'm an aye. Sarah, I'm an aye.
Got it. Thank you. We're treating Glenn as an abstention on this as well. Right.
And
Okay.
then my last one would just be a request that the group that is working on the language positions, the other group could really use those quickly, or as quick as you can get them done.
Yeah.
I will wait on the testimony ones until a further date. So we're done.
Perfect. So we're done. Thank you so much. We stayed beyond a little bit, but I have one item, since I think it's going to be quick, that we can get through, and I think it's important we do, is the committee resolution 4, which was supposed to be item L. The only reason I'm insisting we get that done tonight is because IT committee would like the help of the associate members, and I think it'll be really helpful. So Jennifer, if you want to talk about what your objection was, why you took it out.
Yeah, I would motion to include the same language that is being proposed under the IT committee be adopted under the fiscal committee.
and what language is that?
To add.
I need a
associate
second, I
members.
think.
Second?
Well, I need to understand it before I
Yes.
know whether I'm
So,
going to second it.
so now I can
Tony?
discuss.
What did, okay.
Hold on one second, folks. Tony, can you put that up on the screen and walk us through the changes you made? Or we can have Christina pull that up.
Let's ask Christina to do it. I'm food savvy.
Go ahead. Christina, do you have it?
I should. 1 second.
Under consent calendar, I think it was like 170 is something, the page number.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Tony, tell us.
So this was undertaken in response to the committee's request.
Gotcha.
They wanted help.
Louder, please, Tony.
We kept it at 7 voting members.
Thank you.
Changed their name to a defined term. Took out the director of IT because, quite frankly, the director of IT doesn't need to be a member of the committee that was staff. And so they're there just as I attend the BGC, for instance. If he wants me there, I'm there. You added, in addition to that, there's 5 additional members to assist with the execution of the annual work plan, and they're called associate members, not entitled to vote and don't count towards quorum. As you'll recall, the term ex officio means that you get a position by virtue of your office. For instance, Sarah is the ex officio member of all board committees pursuant to our documents. Normally, with the exception of the president, they count for quorum and they do get to vote. So we took out that term that was requested and just created another term called associate members.
And I want to clarify that it is in addition to the voting committee members, the board, that section down to the word quorum is what I would like to also have added to fiscal. And it is because the fiscal committee could also and has asked for this type of help in the past. And this so happens to be in the same committee resolution. So I thought if we were updating one committee, we could give this second committee the same.
Perfect. So Tony, do we need 2 motions? Then I'll make, or somebody can, if we can move to accept these changes in resolution 4. And then Jennifer, do you want to make a motion to direct Tony to rewrite for you for fiscal? Because I think we still need to vote on that when it comes back.
Yeah, I mean, you and I can withdraw the motion on the table and then do in the order that you said if you want. Yep, sure. So I'll withdraw my
Tony,
motion.
is that okay? So that clarifies the 2 separately?
I have a little bit of concern with notice. The change that was coming was just for IT. That's what was put in the packet and for member comments. So I can go ahead and make the change, but I think it needs to come back in September.
Correct. Correct. That's why I asked Jennifer to separate it as 2 items. So we'll vote on the IT one tonight since it was noticed. And then she can make a motion to direct you, or you can take that as direction and bring it back to us in September for fiscal.
I can take this direction. We don't need any.
Don't need a motion on that.
Perfect. Okay. So just if somebody would like to move that we accept committee resolutions 4 as amended.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh.
Aye.
That's
Mike, you're a yes?
Mike's in and out.
Yeah, he's a yes. Mike's a yes. Sorry about that.
Fantastic. Thank you, folks. I think Glenn, I would love for Glenn to be yes on this, but I don't think
I don't think so.
So unanimous. Thank you.
Can I just have one more comment, please?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I would have loved to have this added so that it could be approved at this meeting. And I thought because it was in the same resolution and we're discussing it, that would be ample notification. I'm happy to wait. But if I had any knowledge that this motion was actually going to come to the board, you know, I just would love to see it talked about in open committee in a future iteration of for resolutions.
This resolution was talked at BAC because IT committee came in with a requirement asking if we could consider, and we did have that conversation
at BAC.
At BAC to add
an open session.
In open session, yes.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I thought that I attended all of those. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was an executive session. I must have missed it that night.
No, and we did actually mention it as well, that the other members, so they could be included. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. All done. Half an hour late. I don't know who's winning. Is it guess Larry?
I would just like Sam Kendrick is our new HR.
Oh, Sam.
Administrative Services Director. And she was on earlier, then popped off and came back. And so I know some of you had the opportunity to meet her at the July 18th cluster meeting.
Right.
Surprised me she popped into that, but I wanted to introduce you, the rest of the board members, to Sam, and we have welcomed her. She's on her 2-week and 4th day. So a great new addition to the RA staff, long time coming. So welcome, Sam, and
thank you.
When you all are in the RA office, you can
say hi to
Sam. Around and say hello.
Yes. Welcome, Sam.
Welcome, Sam.
Welcome.
Woman after my own heart.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
warm
staying
welcome.
till the end of the meeting.
Thank you for staying. Sorry.
Yes. Yes, very,
And I
very
see-
apologetic. You had to sit through that.
I see our new CEO staying as well. Well, it's not so late for him, but he's still here. So thank you, Mac.
Thank you, Mac.
A fully loaded day tomorrow as well. So thank you, folks. Thank you for staying till the end.
Thank you.
Are we good? Do we motion to
Good.
adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess it's unanimous. And thank you, folks. Good night.
Have
Good
a
night,
good evening.
everybody.
Good night.
Aye.